Well, I fucked up that transition. It's so hard to pause a YouTube video that's in a playlist and not have it pick up and play the first bar of the next damn one. So I got owned. Okay, I was owned today. I had such a good thing going. You know what? Actually, it never would have worked because the end of that song does not like fade out. It just dies in the middle of a verse, basically. I think maybe it's supposed to loop. I don't know. Anyway, hello everyone. I'm glad you're finally catching a stream, SD Redneck. Parker, thank you for the money. The power bill is fine. It's just that well, for reasons. There's the power likes to flicker around here. It's very strange. I ain't exactly in a rural area, let me tell you. So to be clear, first thing, by the way, Pride Month. I'm gay. Is just look at my fucking ear. Like it's just it. Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. You know, don't need to make a big thing out of it, but yeah, gay. So when I say high resolution, so I've spent the last week and change working on a script that probably won't amount to anything. I don't know. I've just been writing. And it's about how back in the day, if you had a shareware CD and you were going through games on it, if you started up a game and saw that it was in 640 by 480 mode, you knew you were about to have a really boring time. And I don't know. I wrote a lot of words about this, and the technical part of it I thought was kind of interesting, but when I went and read it back, I'm like, I'm kind of going in circles. Like, there's some interesting examples to give, some really interesting examples, in fact, that I think a lot of people don't realize are higher resolution. But, the arguments for why not to make a DOS game in 640 by 480 in the VGA era are extremely just very solid. So, no explanation is really needed. I mean, basically, I got to a point in the script where I realized, like, I explained the reason in like the 6th paragraph, and here I am on the 125th paragraph, still explaining it. I think these are all interesting observations to make, but is it a video? I don't know. I haven't figured out what to do with it. But the end result is that I have played a whole lot of high-resolution DOS games in the last week, and wow, those are some video games, let me tell you. So, like, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily lowest common denominator per se. It's more that if you saw high resolution, it overwhelmingly frequently, if you saw a game was in high resolution, it meant that the person who made it was not concerned with commercial success, was not concerned with competing in the established market. And that's just always a red flag as far as, like, oh yeah, this is totally clip art that they paint bucketed, isn't it? You're absolutely correct. That is true. There's nothing theoretically wrong with not caring about mainstream success. However, this is, these are products people were trying to sell, right? So this game here is shareware. I may evaluate it for 30 days. I don't know why that's in quotes. And then it wants me to register. Now, how much does it cost to register? Do you have a printer? No, I don't have a printer. Okay, well, okay. I guess I just don't get to find out how much this costs if I don't have a printer. Anyway, but yeah, you get into the game and you see the high resolution and you're like, okay, so they've decided to make this game look fancy and advanced. Does that mean the game itself is going to be a really interesting, clever, new, a new era in gaming? Is this going to add something to the, No, it's what's going to happen. It's going to be a Soko-ban. It's going to be the most basic ass Soko-ban imaginable, right? Because of course it will. You know this in your heart, that if you load up a game and it's in 640 by 480, that game is going to be a port of a Parker Brothers board game. You know that game is going to be Asteroids at best, but at worst, it's going to be a poker simulation. You know that game is going to be just the most exhausting thing. Something just that just didn't need to be made because there were other things like it. but also just utterly creatively bankrupt. And, obviously there's a lot of Soko-ban games. We can't say that, making a Soko-ban is intrinsically an act of artistic cowardice. Or I guess you could say that. I suppose you could just say that. I don't know. Like, you don't get anything out of this game being high resolution. It doesn't accomplish anything. And all the window dressing here doesn't do anything either. Because, like, are you ready for the next level? Okay, I have to go click on it. I could have just pressed Y on the keyboard. And all these icons over here in a text mode game would just be single letters at the bottom. It's just a lot of screen real estate taken up. You look at it and you go like, oh, okay, well, if I have 640 by 480, then I can make much more elaborate puzzles. But look what they actually did. This puzzle is only taking up half the screen. So this is a 320 by 200 or 320 by 240 game. It's just that they have wrapped it in this lozenge of user interface. And, very little of this is stuff that you really need this, rapid access to. And look at the thick padding and everything all over this. Like, they were really struggling to fill out this interface. This is the one that just retries the level, but they were trying to figure out a way to dress that up. So they made it a little breakout icon, right? See, it looks like you're going to play breakout, and then it says breakout and retry this level. And you're like, well, that's disappointing. I thought there was a real game here. Sorry. And then this one here, it just looks incredibly dire. All it means is that it restarts the chapter. Nothing exciting there. This is the warehouse number 2, I guess, is the second chapter of levels. I don't know. I played a couple levels, but it looks like a perfectly ordinary Soko-ban to me. And then this button down here, I see the mouse with the exclamation. I'm like, what the hell is that going to do? You click on it. Oh shit, we got a little crosshair here. Wow. Turns out that just changes your cursor, and none of these do anything. They don't change anything. There's just a bunch of different cursors in there. So like, none of this does anything. It's all just here. There is a kid picks oh no button. Bonk. Okie dokie, you lucky person. Undone. And I don't want to dunk on somebody for bothering, per se. I'm not like, what? You shouldn't try. You shouldn't make something if there's something else that conceivably could be seen as the same thing. But if put to the question, yeah, there's not really any point to this. And there's a billion, trillion, gazillion games like this in the shareware world where it's just, here's a Parker Brothers game. Here's an ancient, computer game's been implemented 100 billion times. There's an awful lot of stuff that's like that. And it's, I don't want to be too mean about it, but I don't think a single person bought this, one second. Okay. I don't think a single person sent the $5 or $10 or whatever it was for this. And so I just think about this a lot. But in any case, not all the high resolution DOS games are crap. And this isn't crap. It's just not remarkable. Hang on. Let me see. Let me see if I can solve this. I've been staring at this going like, I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do with this one. Oops, I already fucked up. Nope, that's boned. Can't rescue that. If I just... Okay, that goes back 1. All right. I think I was almost to a... Oh, wait, no. Then I won't be able to get out. See, it's not hard to make a Soko-ban that's really hard because Soko-bans are really hard. They're just hard as hell. I'm pretty decent at them, generally speaking. Do we have a number of lives, or do we just... No, I don't think we do. I think we're good. Yeah, I was thinking about doing the bottom one, but the problem is you have to push this ball down too, and that would lock it in the corner in order to get down there. So that's not doable. And if I go up this way, if I push that to the left, that's jammed. If I push this to the right, that's jammed. The only one I can safely push is this one, because once I clear these out, I'll be able to retrieve that. So I'm pretty sure I was pretty close to something. But I didn't quite make it there, and I'm trying to figure out. God, this one's hard. Like, I can push that over there, but if I push it here, then it's jammed. I can push it down, but then it's jammed. Man. You cannot push more than one ball. That's one of the fundamental rules of Soko-ban. I mean, I've seen one or two. Yeah, you can backseat this one because I admit I don't get it. Like this one's actually throwing me for a loop. I gotta be honest. I have other games to show you. I had not labbed this one very much. Because I see the lower left has a whole bunch of useful things going on, but I don't see how to unlock any of it. God, 1993 Tris. Gosh, I know that one, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. You know what? I haven't thought about 1993 Tris in so long. Holy shit. I actually am going to load up 1993 Tris. Oh, good. I've got a whole bunch of... I have a whole bunch of versions of it, and all of them are shareware. None are registered, which suggests that nobody ever bought this game. This other game I'm looking at, not the one we're looking at right now. God, I haven't thought about 1993 Tris in so long. We're going to play that next. That is a much more interesting game. Good Lord. All right. Push it up, then push the middle ball of that 3, right 1. Does that work? This one? Top left, feed that ball, top left and right. Well, but if I feed this one to the right, then if I push this one to the right, then I've got no way to get in there and retrieve it, because if I push it in either direction, then it gets stuck behind either a wall or behind a ball, because I can't get above it. See? And push the first marble I pushed down to... Oh, Lord. There it is. There it is. That's the trick. Ugh. Can't believe I didn't see that. Okay, I'll be taking all the credit from here on out. Thank you, everybody. Man, that was hard. That was really hard to puzzle that one out. Okay, from here, a lot of these can get cleared out super quick. So let's do that. We will not be playing Soko-ban all stream, if I'm honest. We will not be doing that. I love doing this part and thinking to myself that, like, I wonder if I'm wasting all this time because I'm actually soft locked somewhere else, you know. Okay, so I can't do that one yet, or I'll get stuck. Actually, that's interesting. I think we have to do... Okay, I think the route is that we have to put basically everything through this bottom section here. Oh, although... Okay, that opened this up, so I can get it down there and unlock the ball in the upper right. There we go. Whew, man, wasn't sure how that was going to work. Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, no, I think I'm good. I'm going to push that one up and then over, then feed it down. Okay, I think we got this one. We done sleuthed it out, partner. That's usually the thing with Soko-ban, is that when you start out, it's really hard to figure out what that first move is, and then usually once you do, it turns out there's like one route. That dirt bike game on PC that allows you to create the tracks, 2D, maybe around 2001. I don't know. You thinking of Line Rider? I don't remember if that was PC or not. So here, God, there's really only one move, right? We got to go up. We got to push this one up. That feels like a mistake, but I don't think it is. I think there's no other way. I think there's no other way around it. And then we would push this way, and that unlocks the one below it. Which, ooh. Would we put that there, I think? Yeah. Yeah. Oops. almost pushed that into the hole there. I think that would have been a bad idea. And then, okay, and you can see how the rest of this cookie crumbles. That's right, Line Rider was Flash, wasn't it? God, it's so amazing how prolific Flash was. It was like there were so many massively successful games made in Flash. I mean, Binding of Isaac. I did not know for a long time. Started out as a Flash game, and I think you can still get it as a Flash game. I think it's actually still available, and it's actually quite different from the conversion that they did later. I was watching Jeff Gerstmann talk over the Summer Game Awards or Summer Game Festival, and he just spent the entire show talking about how frustrating it is that they're leaning so hard on this game was made by a small team, this game was made by one person, this game was made by a team of nobody. There's -7 people worked on this game. And yeah, you know, if you pay attention, that is what's going on, isn't it? Okay, this is just getting dumb. I'm going to save that. Anyway, current state of play saved. No, they saved the state of play yesterday at Sony Entertainment. Oh, right, I forgot. I forgot this was my favorite thing about this game, is that when you quit, you get to meet the programmer, Woody. It's only £5 to register. And then okay, listen. This is so disrespectful. You know what? I'm not even going to say what I see when I look at that picture. I don't want to disrespect this guy's little memorial here. But let me just say the drawing of the dude there and under the tree that could have used some better art direction. Anyway. So Elastomania. Okay, now, is this a high-resolution game? This is important. We're only playing high-resolution games. Now, see, that one doesn't count. Unfortunately, it may be DOS. I think it's DOS. But it is a Super VGA game, so it does not count. Let me just verify. Yes, from 2000. Yeah, this is a Super VGA game. Oh, in fact, I don't even think that's 640. I think that's 640. Yeah, 640 by 40, 8-bit. So here's the thing. On your original VGA card, you only had 256 kilobytes of memory. That's enough for 640 by 480 at only 16 colors. Intriguingly, if they had pushed it up just a tiny, tiny bit, if they had put just a little bit more memory on there, they could have done 256. It would not have taken much. You don't need to go to 512K. It could have been some stupid number like I think 262. 268, some silly number like that, and that would have done the job. But they cheaped out, and the problem is that since IBM are the ones who cheaped out, which is ironic because the EGA card was so expensive that nobody owned one for like 2 years. They released the card in '84, but nobody owned one for years because they were $1,000. It was nuts. You could buy 4 game consoles, or you could buy an EGA, you know. So it wasn't until '86 when the clone cards started coming out that that people started getting EGAs. The problem is that a game developer couldn't, even though pretty much all those clone cards probably had more than 256K on them, a game developer couldn't assume it, and none of the card manufacturers were required to do it, for backwards compatibility. And so, just like so many times before, everybody was condemned to a 256K world forever. So you'd only ever have 16 colors in a plain VGA game. So if you're playing a DOS game and it's 640 by 480, let alone higher, and it has more than 16 colors, it's not a VGA game. It is a VISA game. Now, it could be an SVGA game, but the thing is that there was no standard for SVGA, so your game would have to have a specific hard-coded driver in order to work on your particular card, which maybe you had that, but there weren't a lot of SVGA games, particularly before about 1995 in my experience. So from about 1990, when the VGA era began in earnest, when people started really getting these cards. Oh, I'm sorry, I was conflating 2 different things. I was conflating the EGA and the VGA when I was telling my story earlier. Sorry. It was the VGA card that only had 256K. I'm sorry, it was oh, God, my bad. Like I said, I was writing about this for like 3 days, so I conflated 2 different stories while I was telling that. The problem with the EGA card was, yes, it was very expensive, and also IBM did not make the sorry. The problem with the EGA card is that IBM made the high resolution available on it, but only if you had a special monitor. My bad. My bad. Fuck! I can't believe I mixed up those stories. The problem with the VGA is that IBM put too little RAM on it to have 256 colors in 640x480 mode. And when the clone card manufacturers came out, they all started putting more RAM on them, but you couldn't assume that it was there. There we go. There we go. Anyway, the end result is that very few people made VGA games for DOS that used the high resolution mode for two reasons. One is because you couldn't rely on the user having 8-bit color, having enough memory for that. And so it severely limited the quality of graphics and art you could create. And the other problem was that if you were playing on like a fucking 386, which so many people still were throughout the 90s, filling a full 640x480 screen just took so goddamn many cycles that doing it 30 times a second was just out of the question, let alone 60. Anyway, so the end result is that most people who made high-resolution games were targeting like in like the 1990 to 1994 era, which is when most of those games came from before we started going to much more sophisticated stuff and the shareware market started really plummeting. Targeted that original 16 color mode, and all the games looked terrible. It's just like not all of them, but like look at this. This is 640 by 480, which means there's a lot of pixels on the screen. But for one thing, there's just not a lot of detail in the graphics because they had so few colors to work with. But also, this is using the stock EGA palette for some reason. And this is a very weird thing. Even though in high resolution mode, in VGA, you could redefine the palette. You could change the colors. All 16 colors could be defined as anything from a whole 18-bit color space. There's 262,000 colors available. And yet so many developers only use these base 16, and I cannot figure out why. There really is no reason for it. They didn't need to use this hot green. They could have mellowed it out. They could have replaced both the yellow and the dark yellow here with something else. They could have replaced this turquoise with something else. They had options. And instead, they just kept the stock ones. So this game looks 10 years older than it is. Anyway, press left button when mouse button is inside the menu on the left and right side of the screen. Use big block only when it is completely dropped. Press spacebar or return to activate the weapons. You must have score of 700 or more to get a password. Let's begin the game. How do we begin the game? Start. There we go. Oh my god. Okay, I completely forgot that it was also like a special Tetris that doesn't use normal Tetris blocks. Gun. Okay, so we're playing Tetris, but we're about to drop gun. Okay, let's put it over here, and we'll figure out how to use that later. Okay. Why did we drop gun? How does that work? Okay, let's... hang on a second. How do we... Oh, shit, oh my god, I'm firing the gun. Okay. So... Here, hang on. Okay, so if you make 3, it clears them. All right. Granted. Okay, good. That does fall down. Okay, the actual Tetris gameplay makes sense. At least there's that. And then I think we can get a diagonal there. Okay, beautiful. Sorry about the sounds. Let me turn those down. But then we can also just fire the gun. And God, that gun is now putting me in mind of a sci-fi adventure game that I have not played in eons that I need to look up because it might have been good. It might have been cracked. I don't remember. Okay. So okay. I used up the gun. Okay. Here we go. I got my mouse back. So what do we do with any of this? Let's go to help. Okay. You have to kill flies, making three or more in a row. Big objects on the right, very useful, but you have to figure out how to use them smartly. There are 18 levels in the game. Wait, that's it? Hang on, that's all the information? Gunfire and other. What? Well, okay, granted, but how do I... So let me flip through chat here. Let me flip through chat here while I collect my thoughts. uh, yeah, I mean, Shadowhog, as you're saying, most games made in this video mode were made by hobbyists slash bedroom developers. And I don't mean to. I don't mean to impugn the bedroom developer. Obviously, we know that indie developers can make very good games. However, at this point in time, there were an awful lot of people who decided to get into shareware, I think, without really thinking about what it was that they were trying to make, which is sort of the theme of this stream. And so a lot of stuff just ends up being like, hey man, what were your things? What was your thinking when you did this? what did you imagine happening when you made these decisions? Or, how did you get this deep into it and not realize like, oh, I'm going to need an artist and I don't have one. So there's a lot of programmer graphics in all this stuff, and I don't want to shit on it too bad. There's pictures of what Braid looked like before Jonathan Blow got an illustrator. And if he hadn't been able to get that, then would it have been bad to release the game with just black gray block art? No, just might not have been as successful. But yeah, I mean, in retrospect, the reason that I always punched out immediately upon realizing a game was high resolution back in the day when I was a kid trolling through shareware discs is because, yeah, I knew implicitly, even if I didn't understand why, I knew that I was not about to have a revolutionary time in video games. I was not about to have I was not about to experience one of the fresher, more memorable moments of gaming. I was about to play a Parker Brothers game converted for the computer. Yeah, this is one of the video games. Hello, Spider Rage. Thank you for coming by. I'm glad you like my videos. I am trying my best. But yeah, so I don't know what this game is doing. Like, we've got all this stuff over here, right? And there's even numbers next to some of these. 10. So you think like, okay, so do I have 10 of them? But then you can't do anything with it. So what's the point? Like, what? I can't click on any of this. So why is it here? And help doesn't explain. Okay, start just restarts from the beginning. So that sucks. I don't know. This game allows up to 9 different speed. Version 6 allow up to 3. What? What? What does this mean? This is a cipher. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot to update the. God damn it, I'm still doing it. This is 1993 Triss. I'll try to do better with this. Yeah, gun just kind of showed up. Well, Oh, I see. They're numbered top to bottom. Oh, okay. Because I was going like 11 to 18. How do we get there? And it's because they're counting up that way. Well, okay, but that still doesn't explain. There doesn't seem to be any way to access those or to do anything with them. So go to main menu. Man. The other thing. Contact Young. Phone number. In case I moved phone number. Well, where does that one go? Is that a pager? This game was $10. And like, far be it from me to say the guy shouldn't, oh. The 6 next pieces right now you have 2. Okay, well, that's great. But I don't even understand how to resume the game. All I can do is hit start, which restarts the game completely. Wow, how does this work? I'm going to look in the folder and see if there's is there a README in here? Because I cannot understand how to play this game. Yeah, nope. Yeah, no README. No README. How do you play this? Okay, I restarted with the new settings, so there's that. And I know that I'm going to drop gun, but I don't want gun is the thing, you know? I don't even want gun. It feels like the Tetris part, this, yeah, it's like a Puyo, it's just, oh, here's a slightly different twist on Tetris. That's nothing remarkable. You can do that if you want, I suppose. But then the gun part, the items part comes in and you're like, okay, but did you think about where these would fit into the game at all? Or did you just, like, how are you supposed to strategize with gun? And also, I guess when the gun is done, it effectively blows out a few columns, and that makes sense, because it goes away. I don't know how to parse this. I don't know how to interpret any of what's going on. This part is just like a normal sort of, different Tetris, but then I'm inevitably going to get this gun, and I don't want it. And I don't know what to do with. I can't even get this aimed at anything unless I do a big stack up here, which is a really bad idea. And there we go. I can. There. I can. Wait, is that? Ah. Oh man. Oh man. I don't even know what to say about this. $10. The ultimate puzzle game. Let's look at some other stuff. If you'd like to get version 7, fill out the print.me file and send to me, USA, Testware, UK, or Der PD-Prof, Germany. So he's got 2 other distributors. The registered version has 54 passwords and free K music. 5 Korean musics for Sound Blaster. I don't know. What do I think of that? I don't know what I think of that. Here, let's do Aldo's Adventure, who is definitely not Mario. He's not Mario. There's no way. This game's weird. It's got curiously smooth animation. It's definitely a Donkey Kong. It's no way around that. We're Donkey Kong. Except it's just there's a lot more going on. There's it's a much wackier, busier Donkey Kong. So there's something to that, right? All the barrels roll off the screen, then they don't come back for a little bit. It's an interesting way of doing it. When they do come back, unfortunately, they come back up here, so they can be kind of hard to avoid, but that's the point. Okay, there we go. We finished Easy Street. Now we're on Long Island, and things seem fairly similar. The barrels appear to be seeking those little portals. They're trying to leave. And yeah, like this game is completely... So, I loaded this one up. The HUD gets corrupted by the player because they don't... I'll talk about this more, but like, given the very low cycle counts, very low megahertzes of CPUs at this point in time, they couldn't afford to redraw the entire screen on every update. So it only draws the pixels it needs to. And this is universal to pretty much all of these old games. It's something you won't see on a game console because they're incapable of that sort of thing. The hardware redraws the entire... Oh, son of a bitch. The hardware redraws the entire screen because it's hardwired to do so. You can choose not to update it if you want. You can choose not to change anything. But you're going to get a fresh, unblemished copy of the, not frame buffer. They don't have a frame buffer. You're going to get you cannot have pixel level corruption on a Nintendo or a Sega Genesis or anything. They're just not capable of it at a hardware level because nothing is touching the pixels directly. It's all working in terms of tiles and sprites that are automatically composited without any software involvement. So that sort of error just doesn't exist. And as a result, this platform has a lot more flexibility, but it also has a lot more room for programmer error because if you don't redraw the whole screen, then you can end up with this situation. Welcome to Ghost Town. This is where things really get weird. The first couple levels are okay, but then I had a lot of trouble with this one. Anyway, so what I was going to say, though, is we started out this stream immediately dunking on people for making these games, but let's be fair here. This one is obviously made with quite a lot more ambition to. Oh, sure, it's derivative, right? But who can do anything about that, right? Every platformer is derivative of something, so we can't exactly say that that's the problem. And yeah, it's definitely fairly. I would say this is a pretty Donkey Kong themed, in my opinion. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, and they've definitely made. Oh, I guess you can just get any of the treasure boxes, and it's good enough. Huh. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, and they've gone out of their way here to. Oh, I see. There's disintegrating floors. They've gone out of their way here to make to try and spice it up, to try to mix it up and make something original. So yeah, I can't criticize this. It is a little thin. As far as because this game, I'd have to check, but I think this is from the 90s. This is pretty dated for the 90s. And that's sort of the problem with a lot of early PC games. Well, I say early, but again, this was like 12 years into the PC's lifespan, right? We're not talking about a CGA title here or anything. You actually couldn't have made this game on CGA. It's got too many pixels. It would never render adequately to give a oh shit, got boxed in there. It would never render with enough definition to give a good experience. You'd have to shrink the playfield considerably and take a lot of stuff out. So this is taking advantage of VGA very effectively in order to deliver a game experience that son of a bitch that was not possible on lesser hardware. So we got to respect that, and the developers doing their best to make something unique. So yeah, you got to give them props. You got to hand it to them for trying, even if the result is a ColecoVision game, which some of my best friends are ColecoVisions. Genuinely, there's some ColecoVision games that I think are super fun. I think I own a ColecoVision. I'm trying to remember. I think I've got one at the office. There are some games on there I've loaded them up and just played the hell out of them and just had a damn good time. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize the Coleco. It's just that sort of arcade games are a bygone era, so we tend to think of them as too slight to count as a complete worthwhile commercial game. But then I was having this experience. I'll show you this in a minute. But there's, like I said before, there's a number of games in these old shareware collections that pretty much amount to just a Parker Brothers game that's been turned into a computer program. It's your basic sort of board game time consumer. All gone. Wow. And the game just exits. Game just exits. Yeah, here, let's go over and look at oh geez. What's did I actually bring this over? I don't think I did. Well, here. So, Mastermind, right? This is a computer implementation of Mastermind. I found out it's not Parker Brothers, it's some random other game company made it. But the code breaking game, right? You put in guesses and it tells you whether you got some right, and it's got a hint button and it's got a reminder of the rules of the game. Oh, look at that. It's a cute little printout, Oh, look at that. That's adorable. And you can choose how many boxes you want and how many pieces you want. I don't know what level could be. You're guessing a random value. How you can't make it harder. Maybe it just means that maybe at the lower levels it has more repetitions. I don't know. Anyway, that's the correct answer. So we've just seen the entirety of Mastermind, okay? And this is literally just, they didn't bother renaming it because this is a computer implementation of the physical, I hesitate to call it a board game, but you know what I mean. And the primary advantage of being able to play Mastermind on the computer is that you don't need a second person, because when you play real Mastermind, you have to have a second person. It's a code breaker and a code master. And one person creates the code, and then every time you make a guess, they tell you which ones you got right and wrong by putting the little pegs in the little score area. So you have to have a second person. So playing Mastermind on the computer makes perfect sense. Um, sorry, one moment. Jared, that's because the only other CGA color palettes available were the brown green one, which was even worse. And then there was that hacked one that was like what, white, blue, and red. None of the CGA palettes are tolerable. The fact that IBM did not make the CGA palette fully adjustable is just wild. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. Like I eventually realized that what you're really doing on CGA when you change the palette is you're just turning the blue bit on and off. That's all it does. It would have taken them like one extra transistor in order to make it more definable. It's ridiculous. Anyway, this game is incredibly slight. It is nothing more. It is nothing more than a computer implementation of a thing that you could buy for $12.99 at a grocery store checkout line, and it's so close they didn't bother renaming it. And in fact, I have 2 other Mastermind conversions that are also just called Mastermind, and I think both of them are also 640 by 480. I misplaced them, but yeah, there's a bunch of these. And so you exit this. No, I'm good. Yeah, I do. And this says that registration is $12. And it includes a copy of the latest version of this program and a special registration code for future versions. Okay, so you'll get patches. It does say copies of other ESC shareware products, so maybe that counts for something. I don't know. But I'm just sitting here and thinking, yeah, like you wonder how many of these are school projects that they just, why not? I'll send it to a publisher, or I'll put an order form on it because why not? But I mean, $12. How many people like Mastermind that much? Do you think even the developer likes Mastermind that much? Do you think he fired this up more than once a month? Yeah, like Mastermind is like one of the oldest things anybody's made on a computer, I think, and it's an enduring. Because here's the thing, right? Let's talk turkey here. The problem is that we are sufficiently with it. We are sufficiently aware of what's going on in the world to realize that if you're going to give somebody something, you want to get compensated for your work, if possible, and that the stuff is hard. You look at a solitaire game and you're like, come on. It's fucking solitaire. You can get that anywhere. Yeah, but somebody made it. Somebody made it. And I guess one of the... actually, this is not... I should point out, this is not actually solitaire of the sort that we're used to. It's Pyramid Solitaire, which sucks. I really don't like Pyramid Solitaire at all. And I actually have been having a hard time finding the classic concentration... Patience, I think is the name of the Klondike. Klondike is the standard one that's in Windows, right? I don't actually have a Klondike implementation. You know what? Let me go look that up specifically. Nope. I'm on DOSGames.com. Let me look up VGA Klondike game. Well, there's Klondike Gold for DOS, but unfortunately that one is... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. I think we're good. Hold on. Ooh, is that high res? I think that's high res. Klondike. Wow, that is so many. This game has so damn many files. Let me refresh my DOSBox drive here. Exit. Whoa. Klondike Gold is unique software. Play can be casual, or you can compete with others. This software is free, but copyrighted, so no changes, please. Big W provides its own cursor control. Wait, he says Big W, but then he says Windows several other times. Weird. Anyway. Oh, okay, you type play to start it. Oh my god. Whoa, why does it look so weird? That's not running at 640 by 480. Let me take a screenshot of this and just verify that, because that don't look right. I'm pretty sure that's 320 by 240. and I don't know why, because it looks like it won. No, it's 640 by 400. Weird. That's so weird. Why does it look like that? It looks like it's being rendered down from a higher resolution. If we go to options, are there any settings in here for... No? Your mouse may not be adjustable. What? Oh, wait a minute. Is that... Hang on. I'm wondering if this is something I have long desired, which is a mouse sensitivity setting that is asymmetric, where you can change the sensitivity in vertical and horizontal separately. I think that's what we have going on. Well, anyway, the hell was I saying? What's the kibitz button do? Oh man. I've gotten in deep. I've gotten in deep to something here. Oh, okay. Almost some tits. All right. Good card backs. Good card fronts. All right. What are our options? What game can we play? Is this? Oh, that's right. It's Klondike. It specifically is Klondike. Okay. This looks. Yeah. This is Cromulent. We'll take that. Notably, I did adjust the horizontal and vertical sensitivity, and nothing happened. So, I don't know if it actually, works. It did say something about your mouse may not be adjustable, and maybe that's because of the way that DOSBox implements it. I don't know, because I am playing in DOSBox here. Anyway, so you play something like Solitaire, and yeah, I mean, from our modern perspective, the obvious knee-jerk response is like, come on, can you imagine paying for that? But like, if you don't, then where's it going to come from? Somebody has to make it. Somebody has to bring it to you, and if there are bugs, I don't know, I would imagine like how many bugs can there be in Solitaire, if it works at all. But if there are bugs, someone's got to fix it, right? And of course, the answer to this is free software, right? I think one of the arguments for FOSS that I think nobody ever talks about, and I think they should, is the idea that some software just it's very difficult to put a price on it. We need it. It's important. It's highly valuable, but it's really difficult to put a hard price on it. And, we can say, well, too bad, deal with it. Or someone can decide to just short circuit the whole process and go, you know what, a calculator is something that nobody should have to pay for. It just simplifies the hell out of life to just say, you know what, calculators are free. Computers have calculators. And Microsoft and, Apple see it as a monetary imperative, a profit imperative to provide this for you for free. But then, Linux recognizes correctly that, if they didn't do it, then there just wouldn't be one. And that would make Linux less useful. And I guess, they have, in their own way, their own reasons to want to their own, not financial, but there are still profit incentives to making Linux successful, right? So it's basically the same thing. But from a social perspective, it's in everybody's interest for a calculator to be free. Well, the same is true for Solitaire. Sorry, I'm reading chat. Yeah, right? Like Princess Grace is saying, it is so weird that you used to have to buy a compiler. And the thing that's particularly weird about this is that there was every reason in the world for operating system and computer vendors to make that free. They had the option to do so. They had the wherewithal to do so. And they just generally didn't. They didn't see that as a way to increase their profits by saying like, oh yeah, this operating system comes with a compiler. And like, computers had BASIC built in, and that was the case, that manufacturers of computers felt that if you didn't include BASIC, that the computer was basically worthless. And there were people who got real mad at certain computers that didn't include BASIC and said, like, oh, this is worthless. Nobody's ever going to care about it. The Mac was decried by a number of people because it had no built-in method for writing your own software. And there's a point to that. There's very much, an argument to the idea that the amount of software available for the vintage Mac is vastly smaller than for the PC. There are so many more programs. Well, the PC wasn't decried for that because it came with BASIC in ROM, and the operating system that was included with virtually all of them, PC-DOS, included the rest of BASIC on the disk. So in practical terms, every PC had BASIC. And indeed, if I quit this, what is it called? Shit. Where'd I put it? Oh. Here we go. I was looking for the oldest solitaire game I could find, and I found it. It's this guy here. And this is a 1982 solitaire game that was actually ported from the Apple II. And this is also a kind of a weird, but, satisfactory implementation of Klondike. So, there really hasn't been a time ever where you couldn't get solitaire for the PC, right? But you'll notice, however, if we like to go through the cards again? No. Oh my God. Well, there you go. You'll notice that we're actually in the BASIC environment. And I don't know how to get out of this. Do I have a way to get out of this? No, I think I just have to reboot. Reboot, yes. Oh, that didn't work. Reset virtual machine. There we go. Okay. You'll notice that we have a copy of GW Basic included with this because, and I'm trying to remember how this worked. GW Basic, I think, was an improvement. Yeah. So I believe that Microsoft delivered a version of BASIC to IBM that was in ROM, that was IBM Cassette Basic, and then DOS, PC-DOS, included IBM Disk Basic, and then there was also IBM Advanced Basic, which added a bunch of extra features, but then Microsoft had their own variant that came with MS-DOS that was called GW Basic, and you might actually have to distribute the interpreter around like this in order to make a particular piece of software runnable. In any case, though, okay, so it's really weird that that there was ever a time when anybody put out a computer and just didn't provide any way to produce software for it unless you bought an extra product. And to wit, most of the home computers had BASIC built in for that reason, but BASIC always had its limitations. There were always issues with it. We always tend to think of BASIC as a home computer thing, Commodore 64, PET, Apple II, etc. But the PC was a home computer. It was just a beefier one. It was just more bits and more everything, bigger numbers everywhere, but it was being sold in the same environment, being sold to the same people, basically, just, the people that had more ambition and more money. And so people very quickly outgrew BASIC. For the first few years of the platform, you do see stuff like this, and then you start seeing more and more compiled software. And I think that probably by, 84, something like that, you're probably seeing a lot of software being written in assembly, right? Because that's, we talk about C compilers, but C compilers were not nearly as important at first as assemblers were. And initially when people were upgrading from BASIC, even on like the Commodore 64 and whatnot, they went to assembly. And I don't know how many of them were using cross assemblers and how many were actually running them on the machine that they were developing for. But in any case, there was this great big leap in ambition that involved jumping to a different language. And it always seemed weird to me, Microsoft and IBM must have had a assembler that they used for the PC. I can't imagine they were licensing it. You'd think they would have just included it with the machine. In fact, I don't think they did, right? I think you had to buy a development kit, an SDK. Anyway. Oh, that's right. Not going to do much with this one, but did want to show everyone. I found something interesting. I was reading about Tyrion, the DOS shmup that I think is one of the best games for the platform. We're not going to play at the moment, but it has wonderful music. It's one of the great, best things about it is that it has an absolutely banging soundtrack. And I was looking up, and apparently it was composed in a thing called AdLib Music Composer, or AdLib Visual Composer. And so I downloaded it and fired it up, and this is it. And I took one look at this, and I'm like, that's CGA. Those are CGA graphics. It's got this this primitive, not windowing system. There's no windows, but there are, there's windows of a sort, but it's clearly modeled after like Mac OS, Gem, whatever. And I took a look at this, and I just said, like, I'm pretty sure this is running in CGA's monochrome 640 by 200 mode, and sure enough, it is. I tried firing it up with just plain CGA, and it worked. And this is something that, like, I've never really seen anybody acknowledge this, but I've never seen anybody really acknowledge this, but CGA's base monochrome video mode was higher resolution than almost anything else on the market for the first 3 years the PC came out. I'm sorry, no, it was higher resolution than anything else for the first 3 years. And when the Mac came out, it was actually it was a few pixels less than the Mac, and unfortunately, they weren't square pixels, so that made it a lot less useful. But like as you can see, this is a pretty cromulent interface. You can do quite a lot with this, but almost nobody did, and I'm not really sure why. Now, I haven't tried running this on an 8088. Let me see. Okay. So I'm now emulating this I'm using DOSBox's emulated 4.77 megahertz CPU, which is not necessarily cycle accurate, but it's probably close enough. And this is fine. This is running just fine. I'm tempted to try and run this on one of my real machines just to see. But yeah, this is the most exciting thing about CGA, if you ask me, is the fact that you could absolutely do a windowing system with it, but nobody ever did. And even after EGA came out, this resolution was still available, and yet nobody did anything with it. There was pretty much no uptake of it. Like, insofar as any GUIs appeared for the PC, I think they were all at 320 by 200, or they required special cards. So, yeah, I just I just think this is a wild thing that this would run on a 1981 PC with the bad video card that everyone hates. That just seems wild to me. I'm trying to figure out why my DOSBox window is missing a few pixels off the bottom. Oh, there we go. How the hell did that happen? It got cropped at some point. Did I demo Windows 2 on CGA? That seems likely. Yeah, I think I did. Windows did support it, yes. I don't have it installed here, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't. But yeah, Windows 1 and Windows 2, and Windows 3, actually, would run in 1-bit monochrome. It wasn't super useful, but you could do it. Let's do something more exciting. What am I going to do? Let's do something good before we do something not as good. Everybody knows the Incredible Machine, right? Everybody knows the Incredible Machine. Oh, I'm still in IBM 8088 mode. I don't know if there's supposed to be music here. There we go. There's supposed to be music here. So, the Incredible Machine is incredible in some ways that I didn't realize. So, for one thing, it has an absolutely banging soundtrack. The soundtrack in this game is just absolutely incredible. But, here's the thing that I didn't realize for a really long time. This is 16 colors. Thank you, Jess. Someday I will stop screwing this up. So I'm going to play this game a little bit, but first, I'm just gonna make my point. There are only 16 colors here, and it's all just very clever dithering. It's all just dithering. Let me change the filter mode here. Boop, there we go. Yeah. So it looks for all the world like there's more colors, but if you look real close, you can see the wood grain is just made up out of, well, it's getting a little bit messed up by the scaling that I'm using, but yeah, trust me, there's only 4 colors in the wood grain. It's a brown, a red, and a black. I'm sorry, there's only 3 colors, actually. Yeah, it's just a brown, a red, and a black. They're being dithered in very interesting ways. And then this wrench here is only using, I think it's 4 shades of gray. If we look at this this little puzzle piece here, when you look at it back there, you're like, oh, that's got to be a whole shitload of colors. And then you look at the speaker above that, and you're like, that's a whole shitload of colors as well. There's just tons and tons of... That's got to be like a 24-color gradient there. But you get up close, you discover they pulled this all off using exactly 2 shades of green. 2 shades of green and 2 shades of blue, and then this teal that gets used elsewhere. And then if we look at the speaker, again, it feels like it must be more colors than it is, but then you realize that a lot of these are getting used for the background, right? It's just masterful. It's incredible work. And likewise, you look at those like fake wooden wheels at the bottom with the numbers on them, and you think like that's got to be 24 different colors there. But nope. Whole thing, entire screen, all made with 16. Hard to believe, but it's true. This game's so good. Although actually the second one's better, and I do have it. And I'm gonna play it. We hook that up, and then we're gonna rotate that. I did it. New password, the. Let's see. Try to remember how this works. Do we... Oh, yes, okay. Oops. Sir? There. No. There we go. Okay, is that it? I didn't quite get it. Is this it? That's not it. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, there we go. I did it. Turns out password number 2 is incredible. What do we think password number 3 is? I think we can cheat this one. Oh, it's the kitty. We love the kitty. All the music in this game is so good, and the music in the second game is even better. Also, check out the smooth scrolling on the numbers down there. Ugh, it looks so good. How do we do this one? Well, here, let's... Do we put this here? No? Huh. Wait a minute. I don't know how to do this one. Because, like, where can I put this so that the ball can activate it but can still get through? Oh my god, no, I remember. I saw this in Tim 2. There we go. I forgot that I had placed these. I feel silly. That was the best meow I've ever heard. Oh, is the cat really named Curie? That's ideal. And then the complexity just ramps up just immediately. Now, another thing that I did not realize is that... Wait, I gotta concentrate on this one. How the hell do you do this one? that goes down. Oh, right. Well, okay, that works at least. But the bicycle monkey is such a cracked idea. It's so good. You know, I don't even know what the win condition is. Is it pop all the balloons? I think it's pop the balloons, right? Oh, you know what? For some reason, I think Oh, I didn't realize that the balloon pops when it hits the rotating gear. Oh. Oh, okay. Okay. And then that travels up there, so then we can do that. And then we're going to have to hook that up. Hook that up. That'll pop the other balloon. Okay. And then... Oh, but this can't go far enough to get off the screen. Ah. Also, I'm realizing that this ball goes the wrong direction. Yeah, the ball's going the wrong way. So, does it? I don't think this works. This is just gonna... Does this work? Nope, that doesn't reverse it. Mouse to gear. But then what activates the mouse? There's nothing that falls on the mouse is the problem. See, because the ball goes the wrong direction. Oh, wait, I just realized there's another gear here. Whoops. There we go. Okay, and then we hook that up. But then we still have the problem that the... Oh, wait, that worked? Wait, hey, I don't understand. But was the win condition not to destroy all the balloons? Because one of them didn't get destroyed. Well, I don't care. Whatever, I'll take it. This game is so good. What else we got? Okay, so that just needs to... Okay. We're doing this business again. Yeah, we're doing this business again. Okay. Bonk, did it. Some of these are like so simple. The music does not need to go this hard. It wasn't called for. It's like someone. Oh, 3 out of 4 balloons. Okay. This game is absolutely fantastic, and you should totally play it. In fact, let's This is pretty good. I did not notice what the password was for this level. Free poor Pokey the cat. Oh, the cat's named Pokey. Huh. I like how it also has the lore that the mice need exercise, so you got to make them run. Just that's. Well, I guess that's a win condition. It's not actually a. Well, here let's just figure out how do we do this puzzle. So, do we use? Do we tie the rope to the? Oh, that's right. I think you flip this over and that lets the cat leave. Okay, so one way or another, we need the. Okay, so can we... Here, what happens when we... So, we can hook one of these up. Okay, so I... Oh, okay. So that needs to go there, first off. That'll get this mouse running. Okay. And then we're going to put this here, and we're going to ramp the ball, and that's going to go up this guy, and hopefully that's going to go flying over the... not enough speed. Can we just... Is there actually enough momentum if we can just get it? No, not quite. Okay. What if we, Can this do it? Yes, it can. Okay. And then once it gets down there, if we can, Well, okay, I guess I can use this to activate that mouse. But this still doesn't, This might be a totally different cat. We haven't considered that. Okay, well, you know what? This might be too much Tim for me right now. So let's quit, because we also have Tim too, if we need more Tim. And this game does even more with that same 16 color palette.
Phew! Sierra!
There it is. He said the line. So this starts out with the same song, but then when you get into the game, the music is even better than it was before. So I checked, and again, this is still 16 colors, but it's really hard to believe. Like, this looks spectacular. Also, we've got another cat up here. And I love him. He's my friend. All right. Let's play a puzzle.
Phew!
The music is so goddamn good. Yeah, I actually did have the CD version, and that entire CD, all those tracks live in my head forever. Though it is amazing that this sounds the way it does. Like, I think this is all ad-lib. Also, I'd just like to point out, look at these metallic accents. Again, you would never believe this was 16 colors. It looks so good. Clunk.
Phew!
See, once again, things get complicated immediately. I always hated this particular song. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's right. So the last time I played this, oh, wait. Oh, I don't know why the scenery was turned off. That's irritating. The last time I played this, I was sitting here stumped for quite some time because, like, there's no way to get this baseball to move. Like, I don't have anything in the toolbox that can make it move. Turns out, there's actually stuff on a second page that you don't know is there. I wonder how many kids were stumped there forever. Just, like, never figured it out. Oh, wow, that's right. Bonk. Oh, I remember now. Put that there. I forgot to hook up that conveyor belt, and I was really hoping it would just roll off the screen anyway. Yeah, that's true. There's no timers. I hadn't noticed that. They probably realized that, like, that level of gamification was unnecessary and that the puzzle was good enough. Yeah, like this song fits the vibe of the game, but I don't want to listen to it repeatedly while I'm trying to solve a puzzle. You know, it just breaks your concentration. This level, I think, is where I tapped out the last time I was playing this because I have no idea what they want me to do here. It's so I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like it's just janky. Like what they want you to do is just really janky. I think you're supposed to like get this one here to like hop up for some reason and over and slide down. It's just really weird. Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot to put them. There we go. Let's see what happens if I fire this into the balloon. Yeah, that just sends the balloon away, and that's not useful. So, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't figure this one out right. Anyway. The point, however, is that this is just really impressive. I can't believe they did this with 16 colors, but I can't find anybody else on the platform who did anything like this. Like, every other game I found in 64x480 is just very, very basic looking. Like for instance, SimCity is generally remembered as being a pretty good looking game, like as things go, but this is what it looks like. And can we load a scenario here? Yeah, here we go. I don't know why my mouse isn't working. Yeah, I don't know why the mouse isn't working. Honk honk. Okay, so this game looks serviceable, but it's actually running in the VGA 640x350 mode. The EGA 640x350 mode. And I brought this up earlier. SimCity really does look like it's running in text mode. Yeah, you're right. And in fact, they are using the BIOS font for these menus. They really are. And we know this for a fact because this game is one of the most well-known examples of the EGA 8x14 font corruption issue that happens if you're using a VESA capable sound card. In fact, video card. In fact, it looks like DOSBox must have corrected for this because this is using an S3, which is I was pretty sure that this was VESA compatible, but maybe they worked around this. If I were running this in an emulator that had accurate hardware simulation and I was using a VESA card, all this text would be gibberish because when they introduced the VESA BIOS extensions, they ran out of space in the ROM area, and so they looked at like what was in there and went, well, okay, there's an 8x8 font that's used by CGA programs. There's an 8x16 font that's used by VGA programs, and then there's this 8x14 that was only ever used by EGA. Well, because of the way that VGA cards perturb the EGA video mode, I believe it was possible to use the 8x16 font, so they just moved it up in memory and then redefined where the 8x14 font was supposed to be. Well, the trouble is that only works if you use the pointers in memory. The graphics card provides these pointers that your program is supposed to check to tell it what memory location to look in to find those fonts. Oh my god, I keep forgetting to change the fucking... thank you. Now playing. Thank you. Fixed. Anyway, so SimCity apparently didn't use the pointer to locate the font and just assumed that it was at the location that it was at on every single EGA card in existence and every single VGA card in existence. As a result, if you use a VESA card, a VESA compatible video card, which, didn't really start being a thing for until 1992 and onward. Like it was technically around, but nobody was really using it. And I think that these changes weren't made to VBE until 1993, something like that. Black Raven, you are not misremembering, but that's for use with an emulator system that I'm not using at the moment. I don't have any way to do it for DOSBox. Anyway, So because a whole bunch of games made these assumptions, when they dipped into memory to pull out the 8x14 font, they would come up with a bunch of gibberish from the middle of two other fonts because they'd reshuffled everything. So the fact this isn't happening means that DOSBox must have patched that out, because I think that an older version of it did. This is DOSBox X, so I wonder if the normal DOSBox still has that issue. But at any rate, the game looks it looks pretty good, but it definitely has some very computery edges to it. And sort of the weird thing about this is this game came out in 1989, at which point VGA was 2 years old, but a lot of people didn't really have it yet. And so they couldn't target VGA specifically. And in fact, you couldn't really reliably target VGA until like 1992. So at this point, they had to think about EGA. But here's the thing. Most people with EGA cards could not have run the game in this mode, because in order to use this resolution, which is 640 by 350, you had to have a special monitor that synced at 22 kilohertz. Nobody did. Enhanced EGA monitors just didn't sell. Like, nobody had one from everything that I've read. Certainly not in great quantity, and you couldn't assume that somebody had one. So if you put out a piece of software that used 640 by 350 mode, you were limiting your user base tremendously. And indeed, most people would have run this at 320 by 200. In fact, I don't even know how to do that. I know there's a way to do it. Yeah. I'm not actually sure how that's done, but there's some way to run this game in, here we go. It's probably D lowercase e. I bet that does it. And then he was wrong. Yeah, that one nit. Well, anyway, so in practical terms, very few people would have been able to enjoy the game in that mode if they had EGA cards. But by 1989, when it came out, a lot of people had VGA, and that ran the EGA modes just fine without a special monitor. It just added an extra 50 pixels on the bottom to pad it out to. No, I'm sorry, it's quite a bit more than that. Well, anyway, it ran them just fine. It just upscaled them to 640 by 480 basically, and so the odd thing about this though is if the game was going to use the higher resolution mode, then that means that it was able to use the expanded palette, but it doesn't do so. Now, there aren't a lot of better colors in the. Let's fire this back up. So I just misspoke. It does use the expanded palette. That blue at the top, if I remember correctly, that blue is not available in the base EGA palette. So that actually has been customized, and it was only available for the enhanced monitor that almost nobody had. But other than that, the rest of these colors all come out of the stock 16-color palette that a non-enhanced EGA had. And I always thought that was weird because there aren't a lot of useful colors in the expanded palette. It's like 64 colors, and most of them suck. Most of them are like purples and greens, but they could have grabbed one or two. And it just seems odd that they didn't find anything useful in there other than this this sort of sky blue. Although the sky blue is an improvement, so I guess I can't criticize it too much. At least they did that. Anyway, what was the other example I was going to give? Zeliard is an interesting phenomenon because this is a port of a PC-88 game. So this runs at 640 by 200. Now, this is a beef I have, and unfortunately it's one that I'm not the right person to correct this. Oh boy, how do I summarize this? If you go and look up the resolution of the PC-88 and I think the Sharp X1 and FM7, thank you, PC 1990, I think this was 1990. Oh, thank you, Furbland. I appreciate it. If you go look up the resolution of any of the games for the of the PC-88 itself, or I think a number of the other Japanese home computers, they're repeatedly described as being 640 by 400. I don't believe this is true. What I believe is going on is that the underlying frame buffer is 640 by 200. When they are displayed, every other line is blank. That is to say, they use a skip line rendering technique, much like the NES, SNES, everything else that we call 240p. It's just that they're 200p instead of 240. Now, when you emulate these games, typically, in order to make it look better, in order to make it look more clearer, Well, it's not interlacing because there's no data in the interleaved lines. The interleaved lines are empty. And so you just have to design your art to basically be the 640 by 400 artwork, but with all the intervening lines left out, which is a very weird way to do things, but it's how it was done on the PC in the CGA era. And as far as I can tell, it's how it was done on all the Japanese computers. So what we're looking at here is a 640 by 200 image where every line is drawn twice. Because when Sierra ported this, they ported it to EGA's 640 by 200 mode. And when you display that on a VGA card, I believe that doubles the lines. So I'm pretty sure this is accurate to how it would have been displayed on a PC. But here's the thing. On the actual PC 8801, it was capable of generating 400 lines of video. It actually did generate 400 lines. It's just that the other set of lines was only usable by the programmable character generator. Now, I don't have a way to prove this for a whole list of reasons, but I swear to God, I read about this at one point. Somewhere, I found something that clarified that, like, the character generator, because the whole point of that higher resolution was to make kanji readable. It was to make Japanese characters readable, because you can't fit them into 640 by 200 legibly unless you make them enormous. And so in order to get high density Japanese text onto the screen, they have a programmable character generator which can use all 400 of those lines. So the machine actually is drawing even and odd lines. You can just only use the odd ones for the pixel addressable graphics. I swear I read this somewhere, and I don't have any way to track it down. And you know, yeah, I'm just like, I'm not the guy to solve this problem, right? This is not my row to hoe to begin with. But I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, and if so, I wish somebody would correct everyone. I don't have the technical background to prove it, unfortunately. Like, you know, all the documentation, all the manuals, all the programming stuff is in Japanese, and I can't even begin. And if you know, maybe I could write like a program to demonstrate it. But if I did, first I'd have to run it on real hardware. And while I do actually have a PC 88, I don't have all the stuff for it. I don't even know if it works. And I have monitors that should work with it. I have some NEC multisinks, but they're all in disrepair. And so, like, I'm not the guy to solve this problem. In any case, though, so, okay, the thing about CRT blurring, I have beef with this because this comes up a lot. There's CRT blurring. There is CRT blurring with composite games, and like game consoles that used NTSC have blurring that would significantly change how these pixels looked. But if you had a CGA or EGA display, or virtually any VGA display that was running at this resolution, you could see all these pixels sharp as tacks. Like, yeah, the crappy 13-inch VGA monitors had a kind of a haze over them, but I vividly recall that I could see detail like this at this resolution. Like, I could see individual pixels on my crappy Head Start Vendex monitor back in 1994. And the monitors I have now, like the CGA and EGA monitors, you can make out every single pixel. Like, there is no blurring of the color fields at all. They're super crisp. So, I don't actually think this would have looked any different on a real monitor. Again, this is a thing where I would have to... The problem is I would have to get accurate hardware to the PC, to the Japanese computer to find out how this looked originally, and that's what I don't know. I know that they were using RGB displays at, I think, NTSC resolution. No, I'm sorry, they were using 24 kilohertz RGB displays. So I think it would have looked like this, but I don't have one, so I can't be sure. However, what I will say is that on the real thing, we would have had horizontal lines across everything. Every other line would have been black, and so these vertical lines that we're seeing in the dithering pattern would not have been nearly as apparent on real hardware. So that part, I think, would be different. And we can simulate that using emulators that leave out those other lines instead of doubling them. The problem is it makes it super dim and kind of hard to parse. when you don't have the flare of a phosphor screen. That's the part that I will co-sign, is the idea that on a phosphor screen, the colors do look different. Everything looks different because of that indescribable sort of bloom effect that phosphor has that like only works on our eyes and doesn't work on cameras. So that's right, I did use this in the EduQuest video. I forgot about that. Comp Geek, yes, I actually do own a $750 scaler with just about. Wow, actually no, I don't. I have the RetroTink 4K, which I don't think that has CRT phosphor emulation, though. I could be wrong. Oh no, yeah, it does. It does. That's right, and it's pretty damn convincing. But I don't think that would solve our problem either. Wait a minute, I can slash overhead? I don't remember being able to slash overhead. Wait, is that automatic? By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, this game is a peculiar creature. This was this was a Japanese game. This came out exclusively for the PC 8801, I believe. Yeah, I guess it detects overhead enemies and slashes at them. That's cool. This came out for the PC 8801 and came out in 87, I want to say. And then in the late 80s and early 90s, Sierra managed to secure a publishing deal with several different Japanese companies. I think they did like 5 games, and I think it was like 2 or 3 from Game Arts, and then 1 from 2 or 3 from Game Arts, and then like 2 or 3 from Neon Falcom. And so the Falcom ones were Sorcerian and not this one. I think this one's Game Arts. But I know they did Sorcerian and I think one other that was from Neon Falcom. And then they had Thexter. They had Thexter and then that shmup one that I can never... Silfeed. Good lord. KJ7PPK, can you shoot me an email? Let's talk about these. I don't know if I have the... I don't know if I have space for them, etc. But yeah, if you could throw me an email, that'd be cool. It's just cathoderaydude@gmail.com. Yeah, East had a DOS port, but it wasn't by Sierra. I can't remember who did that one. Gosh, did they do that Silfeed port in? I don't think they did it in 87. Nope. I think they did it in 90. Nope, they did in 88. 88. Okay. That game's important because of the sound. Let me extract this archive. Please hold. How do I quit? Love to not know how to quit. Restore game, sure. No, I'm good. It's Control Q. So many games did in fact use Control Q. All right, we're gonna fire up Silfeed because the music bangs. Introduction graphics. Whoa. Okay, this one's also Game Arts. Play the game. No music? Sir? This game is absolutely cool as hell, but we need the music. All right, we got to figure this out. Once again, how the hell do I exit? It's not Control Q this time. Okay, I'm just going to reboot the machine. Is there a setup program? There's an install. Yes, here we go. Here we go. Oh my god, wow. This only supports the IBM Audio/joystick card. A disaster. That thing's a real mess. But What on earth is the IBM audio/joystick card? I'm Googling this, and I'm not finding anything. I wonder if this was the it's for the PS1. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. Okay, yeah. So it has a 3-voice synthesizer plus noise generator. So it's a Tandy card. All right. Well, in this case, we would have to go with the MT32, which I don't have configured at the moment. But we can do something about that. Wait, sampled sounds. But through what interface? It didn't ask. Huh. Okay. Well, let me go turn on the MT32, I guess. What do we do? We got a mini? Oh, maybe that's already loaded. Okay, maybe we're good to go. Will this just work? I do believe it just hung immediately. Oh, sync problem? I'm missing something. What's going on? Oh, I got a notification from OBS a moment ago that that I got disconnected. And yeah, you know what? Actually, there is a warning message here saying that oh no, that's just the usual warning about the stream bitrate being quote unquote too high. That's weird. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect. Okay, there we go. Are we looking better? Are we looking better? Somebody said that maybe a newer version of this supported AdLib, and I could swear that's true. Ah, yes, here we go. There was a re-release in 1989. Aha. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, reindex drive. Oops. Oh, yes, here we go. Okay, EGA, well, we're going to do EGA. There's the AdLib. That's what we want to see. Okay, and that should be enough. All right, that's so loud. Oh yeah, I just got disconnected again. Oh, here we go. I'm deliberately not shooting because I want to listen to the music. Yeah, this is not the best version of this song. Like it's pretty decent, but it could be better. Here, let's go get the CMS version, because yeah, you're right. Like I think there is a version, Silfeed DOS. There is a version for DOS that is fantastic. Feed DOS OST. Let's see. Is this it? I think this is it. Yes. Oh, my cat jam is broken. Okay, so I get what you're saying about this not sounding like space battle music, but here's the thing. This was a tradition in Japanese shmup music for a bit, because Gradius also did it. Let's go get the, here we go, Gradius arcade soundtrack. Let's listen to, well, I mean, there's morning music, but that plays before the game. Let's listen to one of my favorite tracks, The Beginning of History. It's a great little song. Also, yes, as I have said before, the reason I love this track is because Gradius is a game about history. It's about the time that Gradius saved us all. So it's the beginning of history because, sorry, I think technically it is supposed to be beginning of the history, depending on how it gets translated. But, you know, the reason it doesn't sound like space battle music is because this is less of a Michael Bay explosions, in space kind of thing, and more of a museum piece on how our brave soldiers won the war, right? So, Trish, I'm sorry, I don't follow. Oh, Tyrion. Tyrion is not high resolution, so I will not be playing it today. Oh, I'm sorry, it was the Vic Viper, you're right. Exactly, it's a legend. It has inspiring music. Okay, what else are we doing? So the thing I was going to say about both Silfeed and Zeliard is that they don't really count as high-res games because they're running at CGA's high-res. They're not running in CGA's high-res mode. Here, let's go back to... I got to go back to CD Man after this. Okay, so here's Sorcerian. This is the Neon Falcon joint. Oh, God. Did not like that. Let me just load some characters here. Okay, so this is Sorcerian, and this is a action RPG, I think also from 87, I want to say. And this is one of the other games that... wait, are those enemies? Oh, those are enemies. Oh, my God. I thought those were NPCs. I think this game does have NPCs in it. So this is a very weird game. Firstly, because, like, you're probably going like, ow, my eyes, oh, my God, my eyes. And again, this is something where I don't think this looked any better on the original hardware. I think it was always like this. And the reason this is 640 by 200 is just because that's what it was on the PC-88, because it had to be. Let me go back and pick a different. Control Q. Okay, go back and pick a different campaign, because I know one of these isn't quite as tough on the eyes. Yeah, it looks like you loaded the wrong data out of memory. You know, that's not the frame buffer. Lucifer's Floodgate. That one's pretty bad too. I mean, you can make out what's going on, right? It's just they're using some very interesting ideas about dithering, and the problem is this: the PC-88 actually had worse graphics than the PC. If I remember correctly, it only had 8 colors, just the primaries and their combinations. It didn't have the intensity bit. So if you look closely, all of the colors here are they're all at full intensity. And so there just isn't enough room for dithering to make organic tones. And that's really a bummer. It would be really cool to see this game updated to, thank you. It would be really cool to see this game updated to a proper 16 color palette. Unfortunately, that's not never going to happen. They have since updated the game, but only to 24-bit palettes. But the important thing is that this is running in a mode that the original EGA card could handle. You didn't actually need VGA for this. Oh my god, I'm being told that I just got disconnected. Whoa. The exact moment that the download ended, I saw the bandwidth graph in my router plummet, and then I got a donk as OBS reconnected. Oh boy, good times, good times. Where were we? What was I talking about? Udon, stop clawing at me. Get up on this chair. Come on, get up here, honey. Get up here. There you go. Big kitty, big kitty. She's being very large right now. You know what it is with big cats. Anyway, so oh, don't worry. She knows she's a good cat and a pretty cat. Holy fucking shit, does she ever? This prissy princess. Ugh. She's very frustrating. So what I was driving at is that Sorceria and Zeliard were limited by the limitations of the Japanese computers they came off of. So the PC couldn't improve on them without Sierra doing a complete rewrite of everything. But at the time this game came out, which I think I decided was 1990, they still couldn't quite target VGA yet. And so this actually would have worked on original EGA cards with the monitors that people actually had, like the standard 15 kilohertz EGA monitor that every EGA anti-magic trap that every EGA owner had would have worked for this game, because it uses the 640 by 200 mode is compatible with NTSC timings. The PC 8801 is not x86; it was Z80 based. So it had completely custom hardware, completely custom graphics hardware, which is why I was saying it only supports 8 colors. And I don't know why that was. It feels like they could have. I mean, maybe it was. It's weird because it came out. I think the 8801 came out after the PC, or at least at the same time. And if IBM, oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about. I don't know how much video RAM the PC 88 had. Now that I think about it. Because the thing is, the Japanese home computers had much better graphics than several of their competitors, because RAM was so cheap in Japan at the time, for obvious reasons, and some less obvious ones. But wow, Clive's arms are really going nuts. So I was thinking to myself, like, well, wait a minute. If IBM was able to do the full 16 colors, then surely the Japanese computers would have been able to. But I just remembered, no, IBM did the full 16 colors in 1984 and then charged a fortune for it, and nobody else could get the price down until 86. So if the PC 88 came out in like 81 or 82, which I think is true, then the fact that they were able to provide for even 8 colors is actually very impressive. So anyway, going back to the qualities of the port here, the 640 by 200 mode had been available on CGA, and so it continued to be available on EGA, except that on the original CGA card it could only do 1-bit color. This is actually the same mode graphically that AdLib sequencer software was running in earlier. It's just that EGA enhanced it with 16 color depth. Because it had so much more RAM that it was able to store, 4 bits? I think it's 4 bits per pixel. So anyway, I'm getting too far into the weeds here. The point is, this is a pixel-perfect port of this game, and it unfortunately probably would have looked exactly like this on an EGA monitor. You probably would have been able to perceive every single one of these eye-searing pixels. But on the PC 88, it probably looked really impressive in its day. And I don't know, maybe I don't know everything about the Japanese computers by far. Maybe people did use some TVs that blurred the colors together a little bit. I really don't know. It would make sense. Anyway, yeah, the C64 has 16 colors, but they're pallid colors that look like dead flesh. I don't know. Some people say they love them, but I personally, I find the C64's palette dreadful. Let's look at a game. I've played this before on stream. Let's look at a game that tried its best to do what it could with the 16 color palette. Now, again, I will say this is running at 640 by 480, so it could have redefined the palette, but instead it goes again with the stock 16 color EGA palette. I don't know why. It feels like they could have changed something. They could have altered at least one of those colors, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, this is Fairy Godmom. I played this once before. This is a really weird kind of thank you. God, the now playing. I'm gonna die. This is Fairy Godmom 5.0, and this is sort of like a well, I hesitate to call it a load runner or anything like that, but basically, well, it's a puzzle game. And the idea is that you have a wand, and you can use that wand to copy any tile and then replace any other tile with it. But it only lasts for 5 seconds. So I can copy this brick and then turn this into brick, and now it's impassable. But after 5 seconds, it turns back into a ladder. Okay, now you can copy any... It is the Realtek logo, you're right. You can copy any tile. So one of the things you think immediately is, oh, then I'll just copy this coin. Because the coins are the goal object. Why they're pennies, I don't know. But there's the lore for this game is very thin. It just says that you have to collect, 7 of these on each level in order to save the fairy kingdom or whatever. So you think, oh, well, I'll just duplicate the coin and I can just pick that up. And indeed, that does work. But watch what happens. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Yeah, so I exploded. And the reason I exploded is because the coin changed back into a ladder in my pocket. This is actually better illustrated if we do the same trick with a brick wall. Oops. Here, let me go get a coin. Okay, so if we get a coin, and then we convert this wall, and then we pick it up, after 5 seconds, it turns back into a brick wall and kills me. Okay, but even worse, and this actually happened the last time around. Let's collect the coin again. This is kind of hard to keep track of. 2 things can't occupy the same space at once. So, I can walk in front of ladders. Okay, so if I pick up a coin and then go stand in front of this ladder, when it turns back into some bricks, it'll attempt to materialize on top of the ladder and me, which results in my immediate, not only my death, but results in a singularity. It destroys the surrounding 6 blocks, a couple blocks in your direction. So quite an interesting twist on games we've seen of this sort. You know, like there's definitely there's hints of many other games sort of like this, but this one is completely unique. I've never seen anything like it. And yeah, like the art's terrific. You know, there's no complaints about that really. The animation when she falls is very charming. Blonk. And when she lands, it's just like, Nuh. It's just a really charming little game. And then once you get the last coin, now you can exit. But in order to do, sorry, that exit you can just go to. Some of them you've got to do other stuff to get to them. But before I go, I should go pick up this coin, which gives me an extra life. They're very generous with lives in this game. You notice you start out with like 17, 20, something like that. It's because it's really easy to die. The game doesn't seem that involved, but you find out pretty quickly that like there's a lot of little situations you can get into. Also, any metal objects like this metal ladder or those metal bricks there cannot be turned into anything else, nor can they be duplicated. So that adds a little bit more flavor to the levels. Now, this crab wants to come kill me, and of course I don't have any... Wow, Clive's arms are just going nuts. It's because I'm sitting back too far. Let me sit up a little bit, and his arms should get a little less wacky. Anyway, you don't have a weapon, but you do have this wand, which allows you to turn anything you want into anything else. So, we just turn him into a ladder, and 5 seconds later he turns back into a crab, but he doesn't know how to get to us, so we're safe. And there we go. Now, I will tell you that the last time I played this, I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to get to that coin. But this time around, I actually have. Oh, but I screwed up and went through the door. I was supposed to bait the crab so he comes down the ladder, then turn him into a ladder underneath the life coin, and that would have let me pick it up. I did not figure that out the last time I was playing this. There's actually there's hints. Every level has hints available, and the hint for one of the oh, I turned that guy into a brick wall when he was on top of something, on top of a ladder, so he created a singularity. And I was just about to say, one of the later levels actually has a hint that says, don't implode the crab, which is an extremely funny hint. Don't implode the crab. Oh, and yeah, see, that's sort of the clutch situation you get into is when you're in, like, in order to let that guy out, I had to put myself in a situation where it would be very difficult to shoot him because I didn't have the clearance. And that's pretty much the problem with this game. Like, if there's one issue with it, it's the fact that you often end up not being able to get the necessary clearance between you and an enemy to transform them safely. And the singularity thing is a funny mechanic, but since they respawn a few seconds later, it has a whole bunch of unintended consequences. I guess in this case, the safe play is to do that and then just bail. Yeah, that works. Gotta go implode the crab. That's a good bit. I like that. And see, like, this level is incredibly simple. I don't think there's any trick to it. I think it's just like a breather after that last one. Although I guess there is the fact that, like, you've got to, again, we get into that sort of Donkey Kong business where, like, I guess if I wasn't going back here for the coin, I probably would have dropped off that half ladder there. But I guess even that's not that hard. Yeah, I don't know. This level just seems really easy. I'm not on top of my commentary game today. Forgive me. Anyway, yeah, it just sort of continues like that. So this is a high-resolution VGA game that is arguably fun. You know, I'd have to say this seems fun, but right, yeah. Every game needs to be an arcade game because nobody making PC games has ever heard of anything except arcade games. Well, so that's not true. I mean, I don't. It's a condescending response. Sorry. But I mean, just to be clear, it isn't, because we do in fact have games that aren't arcade games. So let's take a look at Dungeons of Grimlor. One of the funniest names for it's like it's a fake video game, right? That's a fake video game name. So the crab changing color when they intersect the ladder, that is not a hardware thing, because the PC hardware had no concept of sprites. All there is a frame buffer. There's just pixels, and to change anything on the screen, you have to use the CPU to change the contents of memory, and that's all there is to it. The video RAM is just mapped into system memory space, and that's it. But what you're seeing there when it crosses over the ladder is a trick that was used extensively on computers in this era. It was not a color cell attribute system. That's correct. You just had 4-bit planes. There were a couple of different ways to do it. You either had 4 single color bit maps, basically 4 rectangles of memory containing a bit representing the red, green, blue, or intensity level of each pixel for EGA games. Or for VGA games, it was, you know, 4 bits identifying a color index out of a palette table. Or I believe you could do it in, what do they call it, unchained mode, where you just had a byte representing, I think, 2 pixels. And you just updated the whole thing at once, and that's how, like, games like Doom worked. And it's pretty much just like modern standard RGB video. I don't know what year this came out. I will update the now playing the Dungeons of Grimlor. Anyway, but so what you're seeing there when the crab crosses over the ladder, because there's no hardware sprite layers, there's no, you know, pixel shaders or anything like that. The quickest way to combine two objects so that they appear, so you can make out that there's two objects there without having to do an expensive dip into memory to copy the pixels and combine them, is you perform an XOR. So as the crab travels over the background, you XOR the pixels of the crab together with the pixels of the background, and you get an inverted copy of the result. And then if you perform the same operation again, it returns everything to where it started. So that, I believe, is what's going on there. 1993. Is that when this is from? I don't know if that's when this is from. Whatever. Doesn't matter. If you're interested, you can go look it up, but I don't think you'll be interested. The Dungeons of Grimlor is a weird game. It's hard to exactly say what it is. So a lot of PC games, a lot of home computer games suffer, if you will, from being a clone of something. And in a lot of cases, what that thing is extremely obvious. You know, we played something that was very Donkey Kong-esque earlier, and, you know, we played frickin' Mastermind, and we the thing we just played was a little further away from its inspirations, you know. But this one, I don't know what this is. This is its own... Oh, I gotta slow the game down. There we go. The game has built-in speed up and slow down controls because they know that you're not going to be able to tune it to a particular CPU. So anyway, this is sort of almost like, if you had to pick something, you'd almost say Gauntlet. But that's not accurate because, well, first off, whenever you run into something, you get damaged by it. There doesn't seem to be any melee, which is really disappointing. I find it really frustrating. Instead, you have a bow. Hate that sound. And if you have enough clearance, you can fire an arrow at somebody, but it's limited ammo. Most screens don't have any ammo replenishment on them. And in situations like this, it's really, really difficult to take this treasure in order to open up a gap without exposing yourself to damage. Your best bet is to come down here and take this one, and I only just barely got it in time. The guy almost nabbed me. So that's a little frustrating. But then also, you know, I only have 15 arrows right now, so, you know, what's going to happen? I'm going to run out. Well, so I can save us a lot of time because I can tell you that if you just keep going up and up, you just reach a dead end in a room that's just full of treasure and doesn't really have anything else. And the game looks incredibly dull. It's really unclear like what the excitement is supposed to be. Well, this is where the game sort of opens up. This here is a tutorial room to teach you that there are secret passages. And you walk through here and the walls disappear, right? And then you can pick up more items. I don't think the items do anything other than increase your score. That's another thing that, you know, we hadn't shrugged off yet was score, right? Anyway, I can tell you if we continue up through that hall to the right, we won't get anywhere. We just come to a dead end. But if we go back here and we go this way, this way, there we go. Then we come to a new room. Okay, got, whatever. And then let me see if I can remember where this goes. We go down this way, I think. No, this is the wrong direction. Sorry, let me go back up. You can't go on diagonals, but that's okay because there's no large open spaces to use that. Yeah, and D&D Blackmore with graphics, right? Yeah, it's just like a pure dungeon crawl. What more can you ask for? I hate these eyeballs. I think they take like 2 or 3 hits to kill. Unfortunately, this guy is guarding some arrows, which I could use. Wasted more arrows on that than I got. That's a bummer, but I figured it would happen. Anyway, let's press on. You may have noticed in that earlier room that there was a hole for a key, but I don't have any keys. I still haven't seen any keys as far as I've played in this game. And here's another room. These also require keys that I don't have, and I still haven't seen any keys for them. But if we proceed down here into this room, the map appears. And in addition, we have a whole bunch of arrows. So this almost feels like we made it through the tutorial and have reached sort of a hub area. And indeed, this is the map. And it's almost dead center to the world. And yeah. This game is huge. And I love that the author signed the map. That's so cute. And the fact that the game has the don't forget to look for secret passages here. That really enhances the feeling that like this is the central hub of the game, right? You've got to get here sort of before you can do anything else. So I think that after here we start picking up keys and things like that. I guess we should go look at that room to the left and see what's over there. I don't know if there's I think there's a save feature, though I don't know how to get to it. Okay, but for instance, here, this is the problem, right? From a modern perspective, by the way, when you enter a room, nothing starts moving until you take your first step, which is good. From a modern perspective, we look at this and we just go, okay, but why? Like, what's the point of any of this? Because we don't care about score. We can't use we can't use any of those items to buy anything. Though I just realized something. The score only has 4 digits, and I'm already at 7,000. Oh, it probably is just gonna. Oh, that is really annoying. Let me turn that down. Wait, are the enemies? Oh, I thought they were fighting each other for a second. I'm guessing this is just gonna overflow to 5 digits. But wouldn't it be funny if when you hit 10,000, you like get an extra pack of arrows or something? I don't know. Nope, it just overflows to 5 digits. So yeah, what's the point in fighting any of this? I only have 38 arrows. That's not actually enough to kill everything in this room, I don't think. I would take a whole bunch of damage in the process. There's no unique items to pick up. Score, it's louder. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've had that happen before, where I turn down the if I turn down the volume too much, it maxes it out. Ah, shit. I'm sorry, everyone. I ain't looking at the VU meters. It should be better now. Not that there's any sound at the moment. So wait. So is this room? Oh, okay. This room is all hidden doors. Basically, at this point in the game, you realize that there's no point in doing anything. That your only real value in continuing to play the game after this point is to get to the end. There must be an end somewhere. You know this in your heart. There must be a room where it says, okay, you did it. You know, maybe you fight a guy there. Most likely you don't. Most likely it just says, congratulations, you did it. Oh, wow, look at all these arrows. But there's weird... Oh, damn it. I don't have any keys. There's weird things. Like, I haven't seen a single healing item. So if I had had every single one of these... if I had had every single one of these fights along the way, I would definitely be dead by now, and I don't know of any way to prevent that. It seems unavoidable, because, like I said, melee combat is guaranteed to hurt you. It does kill the other guy, but it hurts you too. And if there were healing items, then I would get it, right? The game is... Oh, that does say 10, doesn't it? The game is a race between taking damage and finding healing items, and that's a respectable way to do things. But there's no indication that that's the case. I haven't seen, any... I haven't seen any item. Like, I'm this far into the game, and I haven't seen any items other than treasure and arrows. And that's just not enough. You need to have a healing item, but this game doesn't. So it's weird. We have still no keys. We have a game here that looks like it's had lots of thought put into it. And I looked at the registration screen, and it shows screenshots of 2 more episodes. This guy created, I'd have to do the math, but, several hundred rooms of this stuff. Why? What's the point of any of it? Like, what is the philosophy of the gameplay here, where you're doing all this for nothing other than a score? Like, I think by the 90s, even the early 90s, that would have been seen as pretty damn boring by just about everybody, I think at this point, people were looking for a little more spice. So, this game is interesting, but it's not great, unfortunately. Well, you can save. And yeah, this is the instruction page. It just tells you, this confirms that there's nothing in here other than arrows, keys, and gold. That's it. Huh. Gold chest. Once you take some from a room and leave, the rest will be removed by greedy spirits. I never noticed that. I wonder if you forgot to implement that. Oh, wait, shit. Your energy is restored every 10,000 points. Oh, I missed that. Ah, shit. Okay. Well, that's a game changer, literally. This is episode 2, by the way. This is episode 3. You can tell it's pretty much the same stuff. Okay, now that we realize that score is health, that alters the math of the whole thing. 10,000 points is a lot of treasure chests, though. That's a lot of treasure chests. And, like, again, the economy of this game is a mess because, okay, so hang on. So each one of these is 100 points. So for 10,000 points, that's a lot. Wait, is it really only 100? Did I read that right? Because that's 100, right? That'd be 100. Oh, this is another thing that's frustrating. This dude here, this little orc ahead of me, is never going to go to the right. He'll just bounce back and forth right there all day long. So there's no option other than to just jump out and get hurt. It's really frustrating. So yeah, I said that it changes the math, but you know what? It really doesn't. Having to collect 100 of these items and having to wait, a full, half a second every single time for the little noise to play out in order to get more health, that really just sucks. If it were 30, if it were 20, if it were 50 even, I could maybe understand. But 100, that's just too many. I think this was after ZZT. God, that's frustrating. To realize the game actually has something to it, but that it's that thin, Is this joystick only? I've not played this game before. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay, there we go. Okay. It is Alt and Shift to move left and right. Boy, howdy. Look at this single pixel laser I've got here. This game doesn't seem to have any sound. Boy, this is very thin. The end. Now, this game, oh my god, it just exits. And that's it. Oh yeah, this one. Okay, this isn't even a shareware title. This is just a thing the guy made that he threw up on the internet. Okay. We don't need to talk about that one. There's nothing more to that one. Let's play Clown. This game's weird. Like, obviously, creepy clown, etc. This doesn't really have that problem. It's just a strange concept and one I almost respect. It comes so close to being something really cool. So here's how it works. This is a quote-unquote platform game, except it's really a puzzle game. And the way it works is, you see my energy there? Every time I take a step, it costs 5 energy. And unfortunately, I have to tell you that lore-wise, the energy is food. So when you run out, you starve to death, diegetically. Our options are to collect balloons. Those are, I guess, the goal of the game. And to collect lollipops, which give us more energy. To do this, we can take steps, and we can jump. Now, a jump, there are 2 types. Sorry, there are 3 types, actually. Let me get into an open area here. Okay. So, if I press spacebar, I jump up, move forward 2 spots, and come down. But do you see now how my guy is crouching? Turns out if I press up and down, I can change from crouching to not. When you're crouching, you get 1 more block of height when you jump. So, I don't need it here, but I'll need it later. So if I press spacebar here, I go up and I collect the balloon. But you'll notice that I stepped forward into that spot before I did that because in front of me is a disappearing block. If I step on that, it evaporates and I fall onto these spikes and die. Now, if I press up, I just hop forward a single spot. Okay, so those are our 3 options. We can do a short jump, a medium jump, and a high jump. So here, for instance, if I go into the squat and then hit spacebar, that gets me to this button. And then I can hit spacebar again to go back, and then again to move forward, okay? But if I had been, 1 spot further back, or if I had not used the crouch, then I might actually have died there. Can I make that? Nope, can't make it. Okay. That thing there is a teleporter. We'll take that in a moment. But we'll press this button first. I don't know what it does. Okay, the teleporters are all one way. So once you're there, you can't go back. And then I love how we get this moment like Dragon Slayer 4, where you just go plummeting screen after screen after screen. You're like, wow, I'll never get back to where I was. Hang on just a second. There's some weird sounds outside I need to investigate. Okay, no, sorry. I think that's somebody else in the house making those noises. Never mind. Okay. All right, moving on. Yeah, it's a puzzle platformer, except the puzzle is the platforming. Sort of. I mean, there are some elements of the environment you have to figure out. So we step on this button, and then I think, okay, that's safe. We go here, and if we crouch, we should be able to get onto that teleporter. I've actually never been to this part of the game before, so I don't know what happens next. The blue arrows basically tell you it's safe to drop down here. If you don't see one, then it's probably not safe to drop down there. Weird that they put a blue arrow here, because I don't have the ability to drop down. But let's see. Okay. Now notice that we have red blocks to the left and to the right. Now, my guess is if I go through the ones on the right, I fall to my death. So let's take these ones. Okay. We'll go down here and get... Oh, my God. I got. If I had jumped, I could have gotten that key. But now, I don't know if I can. And yep, sure enough, we would have fallen to our death. So let's hit this button. I don't know what that did for me. Yeah, but I have no way to get that key now unless I figure out how to loop back around. Ugh. Okay, let's drop down here. Now here's the thing. Wow, it looks like the water area above me is crumbling on the bottom. It feels like if I jumped right now, I'd puncture it and drown, which might be the case. Who knows? This game is pretty. Oh my God. Ugh, I just bumped the button twice. This is the most progress I've ever made in this thing, though, so I'm going to play a little bit more. Like, you know, again, not to get too creepy clown, but there is a weird kind of vibe to it. Like, why is it a clown? Does it need to be a clown? Is there some reason for that? You know, and again, you know, as we've discussed, it really is very much. You know, games have to have things, right? So here's something this game can have. You know, does it need... Oh, I could have just walked forward there. I didn't realize that. I don't know. It feels like you could come up with some... It feels like you could come up with some slightly more exciting premises for this. There we go. Finally, a key. I don't think I've ever gotten a key before. But the creator did set out to make something new. Oh, you know what? Ah, shit. There were red blocks up there. I could have gone through there and hit a teleporter, I think. I'm jammed. I can't get him to stop jumping, and it's running out of energy. Oh, my God. I'm going to die here. Oh, come on. No, I was making progress. You can't do this to me. Holy shit. What the... How did I end up over here? Okay, well, we're going to press on and see if we can recover from that, because that was just a bug. Ugh. Yeah, this is very much a game that, like, this is a game that, you know, I would have found as a kid on a shareware disc and never really been able to come to terms with. You know, it's like there's an interesting game idea here, but does it need to be themed this way? You know? And the other thing is, like, part of the reason that I have this is because it's a high-res 640 by 480 game. And, oops, I got to do the medium jump to get that one. Watch this teleport me into the abyss. Oh, no, it just took me somewhere I didn't want to be. Oh, this is the beginning of the game, actually. This just took me back to the beginning of the game. And you know what? I know that I don't know how to get out of that area on the right, so I'm actually going to go back the way I came. Again... You know, the fact that I'm actually making progress in this is sort of compelling, because I guess it's like you look at this and you go, is this really even a game? Well, it must be, because I'm completing it. I'm making progress. I'm learning, you know. And even if it's a game that seems kind of thin and seems kind of like it could be a lot better. I mean, that's what I was going to say. So I got this game because it's in high-resolution VGA, but you look at it and you go, did it need to be? Does that... Hey, what the fuck? That's not my fault. This game feels like it actually would have been better. This game feels like it would have been better if they had just done it in 320 by 240 mode and made it like a traditional platformer. Because here's what's interesting about it. Yeah, Gun Tetris. We were playing Gun Tetris earlier. It wasn't very good. This game had the idea of making an open world exploration platformer with puzzle elements. Now that's a really hot idea. And right, exactly. Like, yeah, like Kargarok is saying, you would think the amount of effort that they put into this, they would have come up with a more interesting idea. We are not playing the Dungeons of Grimlor. Oh man, we're done playing this game and I forgot the whole time to change the now playing. I'm going to change it now. Although I don't even know what it's called. Clown Adventure? What is the name of this game? What is this game called? The Lost Clown. The Lost Clown. The Lost Clown. Do I have any documentation on this? Yes, I do. We have a readme.txt. Okay. So this was written by a Stephen Walther back in 1993. And this says that if I want to register it and get additional... Wow, there's additional levels? Shit, cool. I can send $15 to The Clown in Modesto, California. This is always a fascinating thing to me, that all of these shareware games, people just put their addresses in the README because that's how it was done back then, you know? Like, nobody was really afraid of doxing themselves in those days. I guess I always wonder how many checks got sent to these addresses after these folks moved. But first, someone would have to want to buy this game. No, that's too mean. Some of the other games that I've played, I cannot imagine somebody wanting to buy them. But this one, yeah, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, why not? I can see somebody spending $15 on this. Like if they really found the puzzle element of it intriguing, sure, yeah, why not? You know, we have to give this props for being an interesting game. But here's what I was driving at with this whole thing in the first place. I know some people here probably weren't there when I started this whole stream, but like this all began with me trying to write a script about the phenomenon of high-resolution DOS games and how virtually all of them are either not fun or are, you know, they're either just crap, you know, it's like computer poker simulation, or you know, like a crappy Parker Brothers game. Like I have 3 or 4 different copies of Mastermind that they're just still called Mastermind because all they are do you want to play Mastermind on the computer? And they're usually pretty artistically, you know, deficient. So a lot of these high-res games were really crappy. They were just really just sort of churned out junk. But then there's this portion that were made by people where the way I would describe it is that they were not concerned, they did not go into it aiming for mainstream success, or if they did, they were sadly mistaken. This game, I don't think, was competitive because of its graphics, because of its weirdness, because of the clunkiness of its gameplay. And I think that if somebody had sat down and said, I'm going to make a game that can compete in the established market, if they had come up with these ideas, they would have refined them into something more compatible with a world that sees video games as Super Mario Brothers and Sonic. You know, at the time this came out, 1993, it turns out, you know, those games were old hat. We were into the Super Nintendo era, you know. And, oh, okay, yeah, so adjusting for inflation, that's $33, right? So the person who made this, Stephen whatever, had an interesting idea. And I guess the question is, and I don't want to rag on this stranger who I don't know, and for all I know was 14 years old at the time, and you know, what did I do when I was a kid? There's a lot of these games where you look into it and you find out that they were like literal children made them, and so if you're dunking on them, you're dunking on some kid's efforts when they were in grade school, and that's just a dick move. In other cases, though, that definitely isn't true. And I kind of figure if they're listing their home address, that probably isn't the case. I'm going to assume this was made by a grown-up. But what am I trying to say? You look at this and you think, how did they get this far into it and not go, well, if I'm going to work this hard on it, maybe I should take a look at other games and maybe show this to somebody and say, hey, would you play this? Because surely the response would not have been in the positive, you know? as somebody said earlier, this single pixel wide programmer art, as it were, it's serviceable. It gets the message across, but this isn't what games looked like at the time, and I think they probably could have. Uh, they probably could have done better. And it's kind of a shame that they didn't, because this is an interesting idea. I mean, like I said, the idea of an open world exploratory platformer, it's not a Metroidvania, but we do have to remember that Metroid was out at this time, sorry, Super Metroid was almost a decade old at this time, or sorry, the original Metroid was almost a decade old at this point, and Super Metroid was out. And so if somebody was looking at mainstream games for inspiration, or comparison, that's what this game is stacking up against, and it doesn't compare very well. But like conceptually, they're on the same wavelength. They're doing stuff that nobody else on the PC would attempt for years and years and decades. Actually, I think the first PC Metroidvania was Cave Story, but most that game was not sold commercially, I think, until the 2010s. So if you wanted to buy something that for the PC that had that vibe, that exploratory angle to it, you just couldn't do it for decades. And so the idea of somebody getting that close to this idea, but this is how it ended up, turning out, feels like a little bit of a bummer. Oh, was Super Metroid 94? Okay, fair. I thought it was out in 93. And yes, exactly, Goldie. That's how I wrote about Goldie and Trannon both got it at the same time. That's what I wrote about, in the script that I was writing. And the problem is that I started describing it, and then I think I started to feel like I was being just an asshole. I don't think I have enough sufficiently positive things to say about these games to justify dunking on, a whole bunch of people who made these games maybe as kids, or maybe as 22-year-olds, or maybe 35-year-olds who were just completely disconnected from the mainstream. They don't want to think about it anymore. They maybe don't, they're maybe embarrassed about it. Is it decent of me to go back and say, hey, look at these dipshits and what a bad job they did and how badly they missed the mark, when they weren't asking to be judged by the standards of Nintendo and Sega, and right, Adenode, I have thought about the question of tracking down some of these authors and asking about these. The problem is that, the only way that can work, the only thing that looks like, the reality of that conversation is a guy receives an email that just says, hey, why did you screw up so bad back in 1993? I've been racking my brain and I can't figure out why you were so bad at what you tried to do. And well, Andy, I get what you're saying. The trouble is that I don't think there's a point in analyzing bad art if it isn't part of the established mainstream art world. That's the thing about outsider art, is that if you judge it by the standards of, the mainstream, then, you're not necessarily judging it by what what it was intended to be judged by, and B, it's sort of like, I just think it's an unfair comparison, right? And this is what I'm driving at. It might be the case that I would contact this author and say, hey, no matter how I sugarcoat it, it's going to come out, why is your game so bad? And their response is, what do you mean it's bad? What are you talking about? I thought that game was great. Nobody bought it, but I just thought that was because of the whims of the market. Or nobody bought it because they're stupid and they suck. Or people did buy it. I got 150 orders. I considered that successful. I had emails from people who said it was the most fun they'd ever had, right? There's no way to go into that conversation without presupposing that the other person is okay with the assumption that their game wasn't very good. And I don't know how to have that conversation and be decent about it. And I think that when you're analyzing art put out by mainstream artists, but especially by corporations, we can sit around and talk shit on a Nintendo game all day long, because if it's like an NES game, chances are, A, that the programmer or artist or composer, whoever did the thing that we're irritated at, was not allowed to put their name on it to begin with. They were not allowed to develop it under the conditions they wanted to do it in, or the constraints that they wanted. They may have been fought at every turn, by their employer. Maybe none of these decisions were theirs, or they're not allowed to talk about it because they're still part of the industry and are not going to go back and talk shit on an employer. And then on top of that, they're in another country and don't speak our language. And so this is 3 different types of distance, right? There's massive distance here between some American dunking on a game made 40 years ago by somebody in a different culture and a different industry and a different, cultural climate and everything, and it's a whole different thing from basically, going to the thrift store, finding somebody's paintings that got dropped off there, and then going and doing a live stream where I talk shit on them, where this is maybe something that was never meant to see the light of day. I guess that's the other thing, right? Is a number of these games say in the documentation that they, or at least imply that they were just like dumped on CompuServe. They weren't sold. They weren't actually products, right? It's just something online. And, I do sort of a horror story associated with all of this, if you will, is as I was digging around on one of these DOS game sites, I came across this game. I can't remember. I think it was like Steve's Nightmare, something like that. And it was like a Duke Nukem 3D mod. Not Duke Nukem 3D. Sorry, it was an original build engine creation that I think started with the actual like raw Ken Silverman SDK, not with like Duke Nukem 3D or anything. And it was just this absolute mess. Like it vaguely seemed to be telling the story of somebody having a nightmare, and that's it. That's what's going on in it. And it's a game about having a nightmare, and it had like custom cinematics, but they were just terrible. They were like awful MS Paint or Deluxe Paint, hand-drawn animations. Custom levels, custom enemy art, custom textures, custom music, custom sound effects. Everything was original, and it was all terrible. There were significant amounts of like original code added to this game. A lot of work had been done on this, and then it got posted on, like, the author went and posted on Doom World, and it turned out that they'd like made a website for it that was like way over elaborate for what it was, and they had just like done all the work of promoting a game they had made, and then you look at it and it's just this disaster, this Technicolor disaster. Kid was 12. That's how it turned out. And when they went and posted on Doom World, like, they weren't particularly pretentious about it. They just posted and said, here's this game I'm working on. And then they got these vitriolic responses, people just going like full AVGN on them. And it was really sad. And everybody ended up more or less apologizing for their initial responses, but then going on and saying like, yeah, but the game is terrible. And I mean, look, that's just being on the internet. And that's the problem, right? Is you go, okay, what was going on here? They were LARPing being a game developer, right? Which seems like a really silly, it seems like a really, because I mean, if you do that enough, then you just are one, right? Well, in this case, it probably wasn't going to pan out anywhere. But the point is that, like, had people been a little more sensitive and paid attention to context clues, they may have picked up on the fact that this was not something to be judged by, by typical standards, and maybe soft pedaled it a little bit. And, this is not the same, as perhaps a lot of these shareware games that, where the creator was, A, finished the game, B, clearly had some intent to make something palatable. There's nothing wrong with what we're playing here. There's nothing offensive about it. I think the fact that the background is just a solid teal backdrop with nothing going on is simplistic. I think that these blocks could have a little more detail to them, even within the VGA palette. I think there could be a bit more animation. I think that the character could move more smoothly, and that would be a huge improvement. I think that lots of things could be done to improve this, but there's nothing actually wrong with it. On paper, it's just not very. It's not very conventional. It's not conventionally appealing, and I guess the biggest problem with that is asking the question, did they want it to be? Did they set out for it to be? Or were they okay with the idea that this was a very simple looking game with a very simple concept that, you could take or leave, It's, far be it for me to get inside somebody else's head on, 30 years removed and on something so petty, right? And I get that, maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but there is a certain amount of do unto others thinking here that I can't deny. Once I got into this area earlier and I couldn't figure out how to get out of it. I don't know if I can get out of it. This teleporter takes you up here, but then I don't think I was able to find any way to get out of this general area. Yeah, I think I'm soft lock, which is weird. Well, anyway, yeah, it's somewhat easy to make a game. It's much harder to make a fun, balanced, intuitive game. Yeah, that's one way to put it. All right, and once again, I cannot figure out how to exit this. This, if you don't know, if you weren't here for this era, a lot of games don't have a way to exit them. You were supposed to reboot the computer. That's how that worked. And it can be unsettling when you're used to the modern way of doing things, where you expect to play a game, exit, then play another game, right? I will change the now playing once I find out what this is, but also I don't know if this actually counts. I don't think this is high res. Drake Snake and the Secret Crypt. Oh, this is 640 by 480. What do we have here? Ah, a German game. No small number of these high-res shareware games turned out to be German. Wow, this looks good. I love the flickering effect. I don't know if that was obvious on stream, but there was a neat candle flickering effect in that stream, just perturbing the palette a little bit. Cargo Rock makes a good point that probably a lot of games were not kind to the system memory map, so probably if you exited, the machine would be in an unusable state. I never thought about that. That might be true. Huh. I think we might be changing video modes here, because this is definitely 320 by 240 art. I don't know why all the audio is on the left channel. Ah, that was loud. I'm very sorry. Oh man, deluxe paint art. This game makes unpleasant noises. That sounded like an Amiga floppy disk sound emulation in an emulator. Okay, let's just start this. Whoa. Is this a... What is this game? Is this a jetpack game? Whoa. Okay, first question, is this 640 by 480? I don't think it is. Oh. It's 640 by 400. They're definitely using a custom palette. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I'm being... I think I'm being bamboozled by DOSBox. I think this is actually 320 by 200 and it's being stretched to 640 by 400. Wow, that spider animation's terrific. Oh man, this is definitely European. There's something about the There's something about like the animations and the particular use of colors that's just very like Amiga / Atari. Interesting. You can go up there, but you can't do anything once you're up there. Okay, so I have limited ammo. I have bombs. This is that cave rescue game, right? The music's good. I'm digging the music. Man, are we playing Pitfall 3? Do we ever get to go down? Gonna turn that down a little bit. Man, are we looping? Is that what's going on? Yeah, we can't go that way. Huh. What the hell? Didn't I try going left? Oh, I guess I didn't. Oh my god, I was just going the wrong direction. That's really funny. Oh no. There we go. I don't have a way to shoot at that guy, so I guess I just have to fly over him. I have the feeling those plants would kill me if I ran into them. Does the water? Yes, it does. Of course it does. Oh, wow. Oh my god. Okay, I needed to restart anyway. Okay, so Kargarok, I sort of agree with you as far as there are two different questions here. The first question is, why did IBM not put out any cards with sprite support? And your answer is correct. IBM had no intention for the PC to get used for games, as far as I can tell. Just the slightest, like they had a game port adapter from day one, but it was, if you take a look at the documentation, it seems like they also imagined it could be used for other like analog to digital conversion tasks. And it was just like a very thin, suggestion of a feature. If they had wanted the PC to be usable for gaming, then the CGA card would have been better. That's my take. They certainly weren't deeply invested in it. The second question, oh my god, I forgot to update that. I said I was going to do it. Fuck. What is the name of this game? What am I playing? Ugh. Hang on. What is the name of this game? Oh my god, I have no idea what this is called. Drake Snake. Okay, thank you. Ugh. All right, what year? Looks like 1994 for my version. This stream has been going for like 2 hours. We have done many things. Anyway, okay, so IBM did not intend for the PC to become a gaming platform. Proof. They didn't provide any card that had support for any features that were relevant to gaming, not in 81, not in 84, and not in 87. Everything that IBM demonstrated and everything that they pushed in their marketing had to do with application software. Also, they didn't produce any kind of useful sound card other than that funky, there was a thing for the PS1 that I didn't even know existed, and I don't think that they advertised. And then there was that thing for the there was the later IBM music card that was like expensive and really weird. It didn't, like, if you had asked a musician, or especially a game designer, what do you need out of a sound card, they would never have said any of that. And then the second part of the question is, why didn't anybody else make a game card? And this is the thing that I can't get over. This weirds me out, okay? By the mid-'80s, and we have to remember that, like, when the PC came out, we were in the midst of the video game crash, I believe, and it didn't resolve until the Famicom, so the NES came here in 85. So there was an interregnum during which the belief among American business people is that Americans didn't want video games at all. So why would there be anybody doing video game focused stuff on the PC? It doesn't make any sense, right? Who would you sell it to? Okay, but then the Famicom comes out in 85. And at the same time, or not long after, the Sega Master System comes out here, and it doesn't sell amazingly, but these things are selling, and the NES is popping off, okay? And then 2 more years pass before the VGA card comes out. Now, at any point in there, somebody could have made an 8-bit ISA card for the PC that implemented video game graphics and sound. It would not have cost very much, because you're not including a processor, you're not including any of the general component parts of a PC. All you need is a card that every 60th of a second reads a tiny chunk of system memory and then uses it to look up tiles from a tile map and draw them to the screen and perform some other fairly simplistic graphics routines, and then a 3-voice audio synthesizer, which were dirt cheap and widely available. And in fact, there were like 15 different cards for the PC that did that. The problem is, the reason that nobody cared about sound cards back then, like the Sound Blaster was not the first sound card. It was certainly better than the others, but it wasn't the first sound card for the PC. It was just the first one that came out in an era when anybody had a use for it, because it came out in like 89, at which point VGA was out, and you could and people had EGA cards. And so you could make games that targeted the ad-lib or the Sound Blaster and then had somewhat satisfying graphics to go with them. And up until that point, if somebody had put out a sound card, then developers would have looked at it and said, well, there's no graphics to go with it. And that's exactly what they did. And then if somebody put out a video card that was game-oriented, then devs would have looked at it and said, well, there's no sound to go with it. It was a chicken and the egg problem. And I really don't think that it would have cost that much for somebody to produce an add-on card that just added these features to the PC and nothing else. If it was $200 or $300, you could do that instead of buying a game console, and it could have its own video output, so you could plug it into a TV rather than having to wrangle with the TTL monitor that the PC used. And I think this would have sold like gangbusters. I think they wouldn't have been able to keep the things on the shelf, and it would have turned the PC into a powerhouse of high-speed gaming. Because when you think about it, one of the things that the NES suffered from was a very, very slow CPU, which limited its capabilities for complex games. It was hard to make really good shmups on the NES, for instance, and that was a genre that was incredibly popular throughout the 80s. But one of the only companies that was able to do adequate shmups was Compile, because they had figured out some trick for allowing what appeared to be more than 8 sprites per scanline. And also, they had figured out how to do collision detection between 30 objects without bringing the machine to a crawl. That's a lot of math. That's a tremendous amount of math. And the PC, being 4 to 5 times faster minimum at its release, would have effortlessly performed that same math if you're talking about the same size image. And so I never understood, and I still don't understand, why nobody had the idea, hey, let's make an NES card for the PC. That's it. Let's not shoot for the moon here. Let's just try and do the same damn thing except on the PC and see what happens. I can't imagine it costing more than a console, and I think that a lot of people who were on the fence about whether to buy a console would have ended up buying that, and all they had to do was include 1 or 2 games packed in with it to make it worthwhile, and I don't think they would have been that hard to get somebody to develop them. Just a couple little time wasters to get to make it not totally pointless, and I think these things would have ended up almost ubiquitous, and I don't really understand why it didn't happen. It's really strange. And the thing is that it had nothing to do with IBM. Anybody could have done it because it was an open platform. So whatever IBM did didn't really matter. And I've never understood it. It seems like money that was left on the table. That's my opinion. All right, let's try and play this Amiga ass video game again. I'll bet this was ported to from the Amiga. I swear I've played this game before under a different name. I can't remember. In fact, I may have played this on the Amiga during a stream, now that I think about it. Oh, okay, so I can kill those. I thought that they would be indestructible for some reason. So, is this just a matter of going for it? Oops, got 8. Oof. Man. And yeah, there's the example of the Hercules, which became an incredibly popular standard for PC video. To the extent that like a number of video games had Hercules support, including the all-important Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, Hercules was basically just an MDA card, but with pixel addressable graphics. And that's another thing that, like, the reason that IBM didn't make the Hercules is because they wanted to build the MDA with only 16K of memory, and I think the Hercules required just a tiny bit more. I think it had 64. I might be wrong about that. But I think about all the money that IBM left on the table by not doing that. I think it was so short-sighted. I think they could have charged people for that extra memory, and pretty much everybody would have. Oh, son of a bitch! This game sucks. This game is not good. Ugh. What do we got here that is good? Oh man. Okay, so CD Man. I wanted to play this. This is the here. I guess I don't have my mic on that starting soon screen, which is a good thing. But anyway, I did the starting soon graphic off of this game here. Well, I guess we'll see it in a moment. CD Man PC 1990. I don't know, 1990X. Here we go. Yeah, it runs a little fast. Let me put this on 386 25 megahertz. There we go. Gaiden is roughly translated means side story. I love this screen. This screen is so good. I do sort of hate the fact that, is it really 89? Oh, it does say that. Jesus. This screen has unsettling implications about Pac-Man's digestive system, because well, I guess that's the tongue, right? But I guess that means he can taste things. But there is a hole behind that, so they're going somewhere. Yeah, apparently this game was pretty well known from what I've read. Also, I love that it just reverts. Well, it doesn't actually revert to text mode here. What they're actually doing is they're accessing the ROM font and copying it onto the screen pixel by pixel to create this text, so they didn't have to include their own font. But boy, howdy, does it look cheesy. Anyway, let's play this game. So yeah, this is one of the weirdest Pac-Men I've ever played. Like, it definitely has enough elements of it that somebody could have gotten sued, though we were a bit past that at that point. But the asymmetric map, the lack of passages on the side, the weird timing on the power pellets, it's just sort of difficult to read the map. Like, the map is just kind of hard on the eyes. What are my other complaints? The theme is strange. You know, I can't piece together like what the theme is supposed to be. Yeah, like it's just a really weird Pac-Man clone, if you ask me. One of the strangest I've ever seen. It's got a really weird perspective. And then like this little gate here that only opens for Pac-Man is, well, I think it only opens for Pac-Man. It's useful, certainly. And then like you've got stuff like, once you pick up a power pellet, everything turns into turns gray to indicate that you can eat it, except then new ghosts can come out, well, spiders, and they're not gray. And then, so you think to yourself, okay, so this just makes all the ones that are on the field vulnerable. No, because eventually they do revert. It just takes a really long time. So I don't know what to think about that. That is such a strange way of doing it. And yeah, I guess that's my take. Like, what a weird way of doing it. The fact that you can't actually, feel safe the whole time that you've got the power pellet, because it only applies to some of the spiders, so you're having to reevaluate on the fly which ones are and aren't safe to be next to. It's like, really? Is this what we're doing? What a weird way to do Pac-Man. Like, it is, again, a 640 by 480 16 color game, and I have to give it props for what it did with that. The graphics are pretty good, though. Again, wait. I think they move faster than you do. Isn't that verboten for a Pac-Man game? Aren't the ghosts supposed to move at the same speed? I don't know if I remember my Pac-Man lore correctly. Anyway, okay, I think I got everything out there. Also, it's also strange that despite having a completely custom map that's like very unusual compared to the typical Pac-Man one, it's the same for every level. It doesn't change. You'd think if they were going to go to all the bother to make a custom map that they would make several of them, right? Like I realized that the original Pac-Man never changed and that several of the official derivatives never changed and that many of the clones of it never changed. But this is so far afield that I think it just feels really odd that it doesn't mix things up more. Also, sometimes Pac-Man sort of gets stuck with his mouth open, like Mood, but you know. Oh, okay. I don't know if you saw that, but normally when they're about to turn back into yellow spiders, they flicker a few times, but that time they didn't. They just popped over. So I think this game is just like buggy as hell. This isn't a good Pac-Man. This is a pretty bad Pac-Man. One of the worst I've played, I think. Yeah. But I did want to load it up, partly because it's a high-res game, and that's what we're doing today, and partly because of that title screen. That title screen is so hot. It's so good. Unfortunately, it's the best thing about the game. Ugh. Okay, I hadn't played this far before. Okay, it just became charming. They're sharks. They're sharks. It's sharks now. Adorable. Uh-oh, the game might be good. Shit. The first level is terrible. This, however, actually has some flavor to it. And I also love that the little the ghost jail in the middle is a shark pen this time around. Again, that's cute. I love that. Oops. Oh, and it changes the death animation. It changes the death animation, so when you die, you get like eaten by a shark. That's great. How did I get this copy of CD Man? I think I got it from DOSGames.com. Yes, DOSGames.com has it. I think this might be. Is this the shareware version? Yeah, this is the shareware version. Also, apparently, wow, this game was, I think, $29, which now that I see that it has other levels, that actually does seem worth it to me. Let's see, do we have? Let's see if there's ordering information here. Oh, actually, yeah, I just realized this says pre-release June '89. I don't know if anybody has the registered version. Ah, here we go. So this is how many maps there are, and it actually remembers which maps I've played. So the Enchanted Forest. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This isn't which ones I've played. This is which ones they've finished. That's funny. So the Enchanted Forest, the South Pacific, Deep Space, Cities of the World, the Dark Ages. So there's five maps. You play each one, I think, 3 or 4 times. Okay, yeah, so you can't actually go past level 3. Yeah. Oh, so they released it again. I'm sorry, I missed that. So they released it again, but with the copyright infringement removed. That's hilarious. I love it. Huh, I would like to have that. Here, let me go to the Moby Games page. Ah, okay. I'm sorry. Now I understand. Somebody was saying that they'd seen this, but like it replaced the character with a marshmallow sort of thing. And yeah, it looks like I'm seeing that on Moby Games. Holy shit. Okay, I got to show you this picture. Okay, so My Abandonware has the full version. All right, sick. You know what? I'll go take a look at that and yeah. Anyway, please look at this image that I just found on Moby Games. If I can get the window resized here. There we go. This is incredibly sick. Look at how metal this is. This is so dope. Okay, let me see. My Abandonware, was it still called CD Man? Looks like it. Okay. Download. Oh, there's a separate entry on the page here for CD Man version 2. Wait a minute. Oh my God, the version that's on My Abandonware comes with an info file for a pirate group. This actually got okay, this is hilarious. So this was distributed by Dead Pirates Society, 1997 and on, bringing back the old school. And it's got the usual, who supplied it and packaged it and how many discs and whatnot. And then it says, disclaimer. Due to the National Information Infrastructure Copyright Act of 1995, software in which the copyright is older than 2 years and is no longer sold on the market has been deemed available free to the public due to the seemingly, quote, apparent uselessness of outdated technology. What? There's no way that exists. This would seem to be claiming that there is an actual legitimate basis for the idea that of abandonware, and I don't think that's true. There's no way that got ratified. I have never heard of this thing. Okay, let's see. I'm looking this up. Okay, the report of the working group. Oh, this page is not being rendered very well by Internet Archive. Okay, I genuinely don't think that exists. Like I've never heard of that. And when I Google it, I'm not getting anything other than like an ancient working group entry. So, yeah. The thing is, I don't know that any of this has ever been tested in court. So I'm not sure. If it's relevant. It's one of those things that maybe abandonware is legit. Has anybody actually tested it? Has anybody actually gotten sued over this and like not just settled? I doubt it. There's no. You'd be out of your mind to hoe that particular row. All you're doing is fucking yourself over. All right. Here is the here's version 2.0. Oh no, I'm sorry. That wasn't even on My Abandonware. That was on the info file that the pirate group included. So, oh, identify this fire. That little animated sprite seemed out of sync with all the other graphics in the game. Okay, naturally it is cracked. So, oh, okay. So the power pellets have been replaced by fires. Okay, otherwise I think this is the same. So we probably don't need to play through it again. I would think. Oh my God, remove the ping. Sorry, everyone. I don't look over at the damn OBS as often as I should. I need to do something about that. I'll be getting hey the poster messages for 3 minutes due to people that are behind the stream. Sorry, my fault. Okay, so that guy doesn't actually go faster than you. It just when you go around corners, there's just a single frame delay. So if they're close enough, then they can catch up. Come on, I want that one. You bastards keep not turning. Well, anyway, yeah, we get the idea. It's Pac-Man, but with a marshmallow. All right, let's do something much more exciting. Let me find it here. We're gonna do two things. First, let's do something that won't take that long. Let's look at Line Wars. Line Wars is really neat. Probably a number of people are going to be familiar with this game. I remember finding Line Wars on a CD back in the day and thinking that it looked incredibly thin. Clive, why are your arms doing that? Stop doing that. I remember finding this game on a CD and thinking that it just looked incredibly thin. Yeah, because this is a combat flight simulator, space combat flight simulator, and I had played Wing Commander and things like that, X-Wing. So it did not seem very impressive. Where the hell did my notepad go? I had a notepad up with the now playing in it. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. I think this is from 89. I think somebody said that. Yeah, there we go, 89. So let me just fire the game up here. See, the game is called Line Wars, and you have line settings and war settings. And it turns out the reason it's called Line Wars, I thought had to do, back in the day, I remember thinking that it had to do with the graphics, but it turns out it's because the game could be played online, like on a phone line. But you can also play it single player. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to set our frame rate to 18. Otherwise, we have to slow the CPU way down for it to be playable. All right. This is Line Wars, and it's a very simplistic space combat simulator. I just saw an enemy and lost him. Like all space combat simulators, dealing with the 3D nature of it is a huge pain in the ass. Oh. I don't think this version had sound. I mean, it was 89, so it was pretty early. It could have had PC speaker sound, but there we go. Got his ass. I think somebody else was shooting me. Oh, there we go. Oops. For 89, I'd say this is pretty impressive. It's not elite, but it's definitely in the same ballpark as far as like pretty impressive 3D graphics for the platform. It was easier to do 3D graphics in space than anywhere else for obvious reasons, because most of the pixels are just black, so you only really need to plot a few wireframes and fill in a few patches. It's a lot easier to do that than a planetary experience where you've got to have fill pixels everywhere. Come on. Am I? There we go. I didn't realize my engines weren't cranked up all the way. Am I ever going to catch this guy, though? It seems like he's a fucking light year away. He's firing. Oh my god. When you die, he always yells, "Ouch, that hurts." Let me do that again. Yeah, the whole galaxy. You are challenged by the whole galaxy, but it doesn't seem too exciting, does it? There we go. Okay, let's go get killed. I just want to hear that sound effect. It's going to be really loud. Sir? Sir? Please shoot me, sir. Sir? Wow, when I played this before, it was really easy to die. Wish these guys would fight back. It'd be nice. Wow, once again, this guy's just running from me. Gun Tetris was so confusing because, just like if the gun could point up or if you could change the orientation of the gun once it was on the field, that would make sense. But man, I could not figure out what you were supposed to do in that game. Likewise for this one, actually, what is going on here? I'm just going to slow down because the guy behind me is killing me. Here we go. There it is. So anyway, that's Line Wars, and there's really not much to it. There's a CGA version. That one's just interesting because it runs in CGA 1-bit mode, which is actually, I think, the same resolution as what we just saw. It's just 1-bit monochrome. Oh, I guess I could have just pressed escape at any time to hear the sound effect. Anyway, so this game was nothing particularly remarkable, and I don't think it was terribly successful. But then there was Line Wars 2, and boy howdy, this is something. So this is the same guy. I think it's a one-guy project, but it ended up getting published by Safari Software as an actual product. And this one is fascinating because as soon as you start it, you get this text mode menu. And it's mouse enabled, even though it's text mode. And you can tell actually that it's not really text mode because see, I'll change to now playing in a second. The text up here is clearly being that's custom. So the rest of this is being plotted in graphics mode, which you can do, but it's just it's an interesting way to do it, right? It's an interesting decision to make. But check this out. If we go to configure mode, look at this shit. It's really elaborate. It's like they didn't need to go this hard, but they got this whole like Borland ass, Turbo Pascal ass menu system, and so this thing will run in either 320 by 200 or 320 by 480. Wait, 320 by 480? I didn't realize. Really? 320 by 480? Oh yeah, it's some weird mode Y kind of thing, huh? But then it'll do 640 by 480, but only in Visa mode. And the reason for that is that I think this game doesn't do less than that first game was 16 color, I believe, but this one I don't think does less than 8-bit. And so I think, oh yeah, actually we can see that it's still 256 colors. And so all these modes actually demand 256 colors. And the game is from 1994, so, naturally. But also notice that it has dedicated drivers for S3, and if you've got the appropriate card, it'll run at 800 by 600. Also notice that this is using Visa, so this game's new enough that like if you have like a 1990 VGA card, this isn't actually going to run on it except in the tweaked VGA mode. And then it would support an ATI Mach 8 or Mach 32. I don't know what resolution that would be. And then I also don't know what graphdrive.lw2 is. I had meant to look into that. I assume that's that's literally a custom graphics driver written for this game. Oh, that's adorable. That's great. All right. Well, anyway, so let's go. We're sort of out of the original plot of this stream, because this is definitely not something you could run on an original VGA card. Well, you could run it at 320, but fuck that. Let's just run it in high res mode, and then we're gonna play the first mission, which is just an asteroid storm. And the game has a banging soundtrack. It's absolutely magnificent. It's just terrific stuff. And it turns out this is actually this game has several tracks from an artist named Euphoria. I'll type that in chat. Euphoria. And this guy actually did this guy actually did some well-known mod music, including several songs I actually listened to back in the day. I didn't even realize were by him. And so I think there's 4 tracks, maybe. Yeah, I think it's 4 tracks from that guy, and they're all terrific. All right, anyway, so here's the game. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that there's an FPS meter in the lower right. I think this is the earliest game I'm aware of that has an FPS meter. And then, so we've got this like Guro shaded planet going on over here, and then this wonderful sun. I love how that's rendered. And then, we're here to blow up asteroids, so let's do it. Oh, and we've got buddies now, too. Mission not completed. Oh, I think an asteroid smashed into the starbase. So yeah, this plays like $1 million. For being a shareware title written by one guy, there's just nothing to complain about. This is fantastic. Oops. Oh, almost ran into the starbase. Emergency teleport? Oh, wow. It's got the Robotron teleporter. Shit, where's that asteroid? It's gotta be... Got it. Oh, I got it just before it smashed into the base. So I guess there's, did that say 10 or 20 levels of this? You can actually turn up the ambient lighting in the setup, and I kind of wish I'd done that. I think it would make it a lot easier to see things. I think back in the day that I didn't realize this game had music, and if I had, I probably would have played it a lot more, because it looked really simplistic to me, because of, like, you know, the laser that's just like one little single pixel line, you know, and I don't know. I think, again, that I was just spoiled by, oops, lost the starbase. Ugh. Yeah, more games should put the name of the game on screen all the time. All right, so this is pretty good. Let's try. I haven't tried these other missions. I don't know how far they go. The music really sells the game. Yeah. Got his ass. We won. Boy, that was a quick mission. And, like, I don't know, this is just pretty cool space battle, you know? Pretty cool space combat. Seeing all your buds converge onto a ship, like, that's pretty neat. I don't know if I could use a joystick with this. It might be better. I also don't know how to slow down. Wait, there's asteroids? I think when you hit an enemy for the first time, they turn orange on your HUD to show they're like your current target. Registered version. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So yeah, that's Line Wars. That's a really cool game. And then let's take a look at one more thing, because I just realized I am very tired and I feel crappy and I need to get moving. But let's take a look at actually no, let's take a look at two more things. I have a very interesting game here called Gravity Well. Wait, no, sorry, it wasn't Gravity Well. No, sorry. I fired this up earlier. This turned out to be like, well, actually, you know, we'll do it anyway. This turned out to be a lunar lander. I forgot about the music. Sampled 4 seconds of music. Woohoo! This turned out to be one of the most interesting lunar lander clones I've ever seen. This is, again, a 640 by 480 game, though I'm not sure if it's using, I think that's 16 colors. But so you left and right click to rotate your lander left and right, and then you move the mouse up and down to control thrust, which actually does make sense because it gives you analog control over it. You can very gently, like from zero thrust, I can very gently ramp it up if I'm careful. Whereas if you're using buttons to turn the thrust up and down, it's really hard to get full thrust when you need it, unless you have it so sensitive that just bumping it will instantly put out way more thrust than you want. However, it also means you got to be really careful not to move the mouse if you don't intend to. But then this is the problem. One issue I have with this is that pretty much every modern lander game that I've played does this view where when you get close enough, it puts you into a zoomed view. But it does it really, really far from the ground. So every time that it's gone to the zoomed in view, it has done it so early that I didn't actually know where I was, and I couldn't figure out how to navigate to where I needed to be, because you might think that's the ground, but it isn't. The ground is a solid line. So we have to go down 2 full screen widths, and then we find out that there's all these obstacles down here that we need to avoid. So it's really hard to actually line up the way you need to before you get all the way down here. It's really frustrating. Also, I think we need to be inside that green area in order to, on the right side, I think that's our downward velocity. There we go. So like it's a competent implementation, but I don't think that it should zoom in nearly that early. I've really had problems with it. But anyway, this was not the game I actually intended to start. I just figured I'd show it to you since I was there. What's the one I was going to show you? Gravwell, Ghost. Oh, what the hell was that? Oh, it's Battlestar. Right. No. Battlestar was the second part of the explanation. The first one was Lacewing. This is the game I was looking for. Okay, this game is from 2003. It's a lot newer than I thought it was when I first grabbed it. And also, I thought that this ran in plain VGA mode, but it actually doesn't. This is an Allegro game. It uses like a full 256 color. It doesn't use that many colors, but it's running in a 640 by 480 VISA mode. But it is a really interesting game because it's basically what if Geometry Wars was for a Pentium machine. Here, I'll just fire it up. Let's see, we do that one. Pick a ship. So we got this hyper minimalist UI. I'll change the ticker, sorry. God damn it. I gotta get somebody else to do this. I'm gonna hire someone to do this. Okay. So you'll notice that we have a Gradius style store system. So we pick up power-ups and then we spend them. Okay. Also the hyper minimalist soundtrack. Yeah, it's just Geometry Wars, right? It's a little less impressive due to the graphical limitations, but this is still pretty sick. Like, it's not astonishing that someone could develop this for DOS using, modern CPUs and modern libraries and everything. However, it's just sick that they did. It's super cool that they did. Beep, boop. Yeah, the soundtrack is so good. The vibes are so good. And, spoiler warning, because I'm not going to play this for that long, but there's actually, there's, like, big bosses. Actually, I think maybe the big boss might be on level 3, so maybe we will get there. So let's just see. Some of these purchases, I don't know what they do. Some of these power-ups. It's like, that's armor, and then we have Warhead, which is a missile. But the one before that, Auto Fire, I don't know what that does. I was not able to figure out what that does. Like, I've bought it, but it doesn't seem like it changes anything. Come on, give me one more power-up. Come on. Come on, we're going to end the level in a second. Come on. I want Warhead. I don't know what that sound means. Dang it. Nobody's dropping power-ups. Nobody is dropping power-ups. There. There we go. Now we have Warhead. I don't actually know what the win condition is. Have I just not killed enough guys? Yeah, I think not. I think I lost this one. Oh, that's right. You don't actually lose. It just makes it much, much harder. Oof. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what, actually, I kind of need to go. I'm suddenly realizing that, like, my energy level is plummeting. You can probably realize that. It's also really, really hot in here, so I need to go get myself some water and buzz off for the night. I had a couple other games I was interested in playing, but I can't even form a cohesive pattern of thought about it. I'm realizing, so it won't be a very good presentation. So thank you all for coming. Yeah, this is a long fucking stream. I think this was much longer than I usually do. Y'all have a good day. Video games are terrific. Good night.